All right, sweet. We're live. Hey, everybody. This is Bradley Benner with Semantic Mastery, and this is the local Lease Pro update webinar. Today is December 17th, 2018. We're about a week away from Christmas. Kind of excited about that. I've got several of my partners on today. The only one that's missing in action is Chris. So I'm going to go on down the line and introduce everybody as I see them. Adam, how are you?
Now I know why I'm first. I like this. I'm glad that I'm named Adam. So since apparently Hangouts does this alphabetically, but I'm doing awesome. It's about 60 degrees here. I went for a walk this morning, and I'm looking forward to this because actually I was just explaining what this webinar was about when I was on a call with somebody else. And so pretty pumped about this. One, looking forward to just the updates, but also sharing. Well, I'm not going to spoil it. We got some really good stuff lined up for people who aren't yet in local Lease Pro. So
awesome. And then Hernan, what's up, buddy?
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Really, really good to be here. Yeah, I'm excited for what's coming too. So.
And last but not least, Marco, who's on his phone because his PC is getting worked on. So what's up, Marco?
Yeah, I don't know when the fuck is coming back, but it's coming back sometime.
That's all right. You made it. That's the important thing.
Yeah, I'm here.
So, all right, guys. Well, listen, you should be on the event page. If you have any questions throughout this, go ahead and post them. I saw that there was a couple of questions posted already. That's fine. We will get to Q&A later on. This is going to be essentially a training. It's going to be both training and pitch, just so you guys are fully aware. We're going to be doing the update training, which I said was going to make publicly available for about the next 48 hours. But obviously, because it's public, we're going to also be pushing, making the offer for you guys. And it's actually a super, super good offer for those of you that are not part of Local Lease Pro yet, because once you see what we're talking about and what we're doing with this, you're probably going to want to join. And if you have any interest in local marketing or lead generation at all, I highly recommend that you check this out and join the program, because we have really re-engineered or redesigned our entire business model back to the lead gen asset building model right now, because there's so much opportunity. And I don't know how long this opportunity is going to last. And just so you guys are aware, this opportunity opened itself up in July when Google switched to the mobile index first, or mobile first indexing, however you want to say it. It opened up this huge, massive opportunity for local marketing as lead generation using Google My Business assets that unlike I have seen since I started in local marketing in 2010. So the opportunity is, it's unlike I've seen before, period. And so because of that, we've shifted our entire business model. Like, not just me, but my partners are all doing the same thing. They're all building their own lead gen asset business right now as well. So I'm doing my own. All of my partners are building each of their own. And then we're collectively building for our lead generation and contractor marketing agency. We're building our own assets for Semantic Mastery, if that makes sense. So we're doing this, we're practicing what we preach, guys. And so that's why I would highly recommend that you check this out, because for 2019, at least while this opportunity is still available, this is our primary business model. And we would encourage you guys to do the same, because you could really start off next year with a great, great income opportunity. So does anybody want to comment on that before I jump right into training?
No, man. Well, I think yeah, that does it all. I'm excited about this.
Hernan?
Yeah, I mean, that hits the nail right on the head. I mentioned it before on a public Hump Day Hangout. It's never been easier to make money. Well, there were easier times, but we're talking 15 years back, man, since it's been this simple and this good, this fast, where you see results but I'm not guaranteeing anybody results, right?
That's right.
First and foremost, I can't guarantee that you will get results. If, however, you go through the training like we teach it, and you apply the methods like we show, then it's very likely that you're going to see some stuff that you've never seen before, unless you've been around as long as I have.
Yep. And Hernan, did you want to add to that before I move on?
No, let's go.
All right, cool. Well, guys, I'm going to go ahead and jump right into it then. I've got some slides prepared. So let me grab the screen and we'll get into it. All right. So, Local Lease Pro update. Build an empire of digital assets to lease to local businesses. It's what I love about this, guys. This is how I got started in this business in 2010. And for the first 2 years, this is all I did. And, here we are in almost 2019, so almost 9 years later, and I've reverted back to this model because it was the simplest and it just worked. And it keeps me in control because I get to own or control the assets, right? So what we're going to cover today is what is Local Lease Pro, because I can't assume that all of you are familiar with what this is. So we're going to cover that briefly. Then we're going to talk about the updates, which is location research, GMB management, some off-page optimization updates, and then we're going to get into Q&A. And just so you guys are aware, really the updates were, you know, the training, we're not covering the entire training today, guys, or the entire method. That would be stupid. It's already available in the training, many of you already have the training. But today we're going to be covering the updates, which are the location research, because that has changed significantly from the original training, and you'll see why. And I'm actually going to walk through the step-by-step procedure today for how to do the location research, because that's really the tip of the spear. That's like when you do the location research correctly, you find opportunities, massive amount of opportunities, like within even a metropolitan area. And that's what we're going to get into today, because we were actually limiting our opportunity before with the original method of location research. But now what we're doing is we're finding opportunities because of the hyperlocal nature of search results now, especially for mobile devices. We're able to find opportunities that are like literally hiding in plain sight, guys. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And it's the tip of the spear, meaning if you do this correctly, guys, you will find many different location opportunities within a metro area that you can secure and start generating leads with very little work. Okay. And that's the whole point of the Local Lease Pro method, right? Now, there are going to be assets that you're going to snipe or you're going to attempt to rank and get, you know, results with that aren't going to, you know, play nice. They're not going to rank initially or right just from setup and optimization, which is, again, if you do location research correctly, a lot of the times you can get an asset ranked in the 3-pack and start generating leads and calls and activity within a matter of a week, with doing nothing other than just claiming and optimizing the profile. But that's not always going to be the case. There are going to be cases where they're not going to rank right away. So we're going to talk about off-page optimization methods, some of the things that we're doing to push those listings into the 3-pack. And then the Local Lease Pro method, guys, remember, it's about finding those easy opportunities. We have additional training like Local GMB Pro, which is the advanced GMB asset training, which goes to show you like for more competitive listings and how to get that's for optimizing more competitive listings as well, and getting results from them, as well as generating leads and results from GMB without even being in the 3-pack. Okay, so that's Local GMB Pro. And then we have Local PR Pro, which is using the press releases as a method to get ranked in the 3-pack really quickly. And we're going to talk about that a little bit today, because part of my off-page strategy is always using press releases. So we're going to talk about that today. Then we're also going to talk about GMB management, just because there are some things that I've learned over the last several weeks since the original training, because my team and I have been scaling this out. So we're building, you know, dozens of assets at a time right now. And so I've learned some things about managing that many locations that I want to convey to you guys today so that you don't make mistakes and lose assets. Ask me how I know. Okay. And then we'll get into some questions.
Before you get into the nitty-gritty, dude, I can't believe some of the shit you're gonna give away publicly, man.
Yeah,
I'd have stopped you. I'm glad you didn't put it by me first, because
I didn't ask you to review the slide deck.
That shit would have been all red, man. Don't give that away. Don't give that away. No, fuck that.
You know how I do, man. That's why I don't even ask. It's always easier to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. You know.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, you're welcome.
It's Christmas, man. It's a time to give, right? In the spirit of giving. What is Local Lease Pro? Local Lease Pro is a business in a box for building a portfolio of digital assets that can be leased to local business owners. For those of you that have been in this industry or this business for quite some time, leasing the assets may not be the best strategy for monetizing. You may want to do on a pay-per-lead basis or pay-per-call, or even an equity share, revenue share. There's many different ways that you can monetize. But remember, the Local Lease Pro was all about keeping it simple. So that's why I mentioned building a portfolio of digital assets that can be leased to local business owners, because that's the easiest to manage. Okay. Yes, you can leave money on the table that way, but it's a lot easier to manage. It requires the least amount of infrastructure, requires less tracking. So it's just easier to do that. And again, this method is specifically about trying to set up an easy and repeatable business that you can scale so that you can build a stream of revenue, multiple streams of revenue without doing a shit ton of work. And almost everything that we teach can be, well, not almost everything that we teach can be outsourced. In fact, we're training our own team of virtual assistants right now so that we can provide that as a done-for-you service for you guys, okay? So that's something we'll talk about a little bit later as well. Local Lease Pro also shows how to secure valuable Google My Business or Maps profiles that only require a minor amount of work to get ranked in the Google Maps 3-pack and start generating leads. It's a fast track to profitability. It's really only 4 steps to this, guys. Yes, there's a lot to each one of the steps, but if you boil it down to its essence, this is what it is. Research, rank, monetize, and scale. Repeat, right? Repeat and scale. So it's research, rank, monetize, repeat, and scale. That's it. That's all you have to do. And that's what I love about this, guys, because, you know, all this stuff that I've learned over the years, all the different types of services that I could offer as a marketing agency, right? SEO, local SEO, content marketing, PPC, video marketing, reputation marketing and management, right? You know, syndication, like PR marketing, like all the stuff that we do, guys, that we can learn. I'm sure many of you have learned how to do. That's great, but are they all making you money, or is it difficult? And I found as an agency owner, it's difficult to sell all those services. It's much easier to just have one primary front end service that you're really, really good at, and using that to get your foot in the door with clients, or in this case, service providers. And then if you have the ability to do all those other things, you can add those in or upsell those services at a later date. But I found it much easier to gain traction in the marketplace when you come out strong with one service, right? And so that's what I love about this model, because it's literally doing everything within Google properties. So it's essentially, you know, the assets themselves are free. In other words, all the optimization and everything can be done within the GMB dashboard, which is free. So it's just a matter of learning the process and then repeating it over and over and over and over again. And you'll have a portfolio of highly valuable, sought after Google My Business profile. It's like virtual real estate, guys, right? It's like virtual real estate that then you can rent or lease to somebody. You build the property, you develop the property on a Google asset, and then you can, once it's developed, you can lease it out or rent it out. Does that make sense? And that's what I love about this model, because it's something that we can repeat over and over and over again and forget about all the other noise out there. Just focus in on what works, and that's building these assets, getting them to produce results. And as soon as they start producing results, you can monetize them. And that opens up the door, by the way, for upselling to all different kinds of marketing services to your service providers, right? You can start off on a lead gen arrangement with them. In other words, leasing the property to them or even selling on a pay-per-lead basis. But once you've established a working relationship with a service provider, can you not also provide marketing services for their digital assets? Can you not offer to do SEO for their website and their local maps listing, and do PR marketing and reputation marketing and PPC management and all the other stuff that I just mentioned for them after you've already established a relationship with them? Does that make sense? So that's what I love about this model, guys. All right. So we're not going to be covering the entire method today. I mentioned that already. And guys, so here's the offer. It's also on the event page in the right-hand sidebar. There's the official site or ticket seller or ticket URL or whatever. You can click on that. It'll take you over. There is the coupon holiday update 300. It takes $300 off the normal price. This is what you'll get today as part of the bonuses. But these are limited time bonuses. Hernan, you may want to comment on this in just a moment. But guys, if anybody that is not part of Local Lease Pro already and you buy today or within the next 24 hours, you're going to get a 15-minute quick start call with me. I'd be happy to do that, because I'd like to actually talk with as many of you that purchase as possible, because I want to find out what you're doing in your business and hopefully guide you to make the correct choice into what type of business you want to get into and all that. Okay. So it's 15 minutes quick start call with me. Video lead gen system will be included as a bonus. That's the video email system that I use. I developed it, learned about it in 2012 when I started as an agency. When I opened up my agency, I was trying to find clients, and I hated cold calling. And you know, I did the networking events, you know, live networking events and stuff, lead share events, meetup.com, that type of stuff. And I got a couple of clients that way, but by far the most, the best results that I had in securing clients was using video emails. And so I've used that system. I still use video emails today. That's my primary method of communication with my clients. When I send out client reports and all that kind of stuff, when I prospect, all of that, I still use video email today. It works like crazy. And video lead gen system, you'll get that. If you go visit that page today, you'll see it's $200. You're going to get that included if you buy today. Also, one done for you GMB verification at our store, mgyb.co. You can buy done for you GMB verifications, where we'll go out and secure a listing for you and then send you the details. Okay. And so we'll provide you, if you buy today, you'll get one free done for you GMB verification included, so that you can get started with this process immediately and come out of the door, you know, come out of the gate swinging, like ready to rock. All right. Then lastly, guys, I'm going to announce a special fast action bonus at the end of today's webinar. I'm going to actually end the public broadcast before I announce it. So anybody that wants to get an incredible additional bonus on top of what's listed here, stay to the end. And then once I go off broadcast, I'll announce it, and you have to purchase today in order to get that. And we will verify the purchase day and time on the receipts before we send that last bonus, which again, I will cover at the very end of this webinar. So stay to the end if you guys are interested in that, or just pick it up if you have to go and then find out what the bonus is later. Okay.
Yeah. Just to add to what you were saying, Bradley, real quick, there's a reason why we're adding these type of bonuses in this order, and they will be taken out like over the next 24 hours. I think the first thing that we're taking out is Bradley's 15-minute quick start sessions, just because of the fact that we really want to take care of Bradley's time. So that's the first thing that's we're gonna be taking out, and then here's the reason why we're putting that, because with Local Lease Pro, you have a business in a box, right? But then you might need to actually go out there and get clients, right? That's why we're adding video lead gen system. And also, not only that, but you know, the minute you land a new client, or you want to start with the first iteration of the process, you will need a done for you GMB verification. So that's why we're adding that. And there's also the bonus that Bradley added today. Actually said, hey guys, is it okay if I over deliver? And we said, yeah, sure, why not? And he went ahead and added these special bonus for attendees only. But yeah, the main point is that will also add to the battery of tools that you will have to actually, you know, take this to the next level for the next couple of months. So it's going to be pretty awesome.
It's awesome. And the reason why, guys, like I said, this is not something, I don't know how long this opportunity is going to be available. And that's why we've been pushing at Semantic Mastery so hard internally for our own team to be able to learn these processes as quickly as possible, so that we can scale and take advantage of this opportunity as much as possible while it's here. Because again, it will get, the opportunity will go away at some point, right? Because there will be, it'll become harder and harder to do specific things and all that. That's how the nature of this game. But early adopters can take advantage of it and reap the rewards of it, and that's what we're trying to do. So that's why I'd encourage you to jump on it. All right, I don't want to. Yeah, but before you go on, I don't want to go too quickly over that 15-minute call, because I want people to realize what that's actually worth, right? I charge $1,200 for consultation services, and I charge it per hour or any part thereof. So whether we go 1 minute or the full 60 minutes, you have to pay me $1,200. So guys, you're getting a hell of a deal, because you're getting the people that are in the middle of it all, putting it all together, and you're getting access to that person, so that person can guide you in the right direction. It's not something to sneeze at, man. Merry fucking Christmas. All right, there you go. Feliz Navidad. All right, so location research, guys. Get out your pen and paper or whatever. Pen and paper, who does that anymore? Anyways, we're going to go through this location research, and I'm going to kind of step-by-step process walk through it, guys. So first of all, I've got some links I'm going to drop on the page for you first, and then I'll come back to the presentation. This is for this particular section. Those are all the links that I'm going to be covering in this particular section, guys. So, All right, so we're going to start with location research. So the biggest change from what the original process was in Local Lease Pro was originally what I was doing was using the free map tools, find zip codes inside radius page or tool or whatever to identify the city names. Like we would I was originally doing about a 25-mile service area radius. Why did I choose 25 miles? Well, because most of the contractors, I'm targeting contractors only. That's been my primary business for, since I got started in digital marketing. I work mainly with contractors. And so for lead gen building, that's all I'm doing. I'm building very specific types of lead gen assets, okay, within very specific verticals, okay? And so typically the types of contractors that I work with usually have about a 20 to a 25-mile service area radius. In other words, they'll go from their point of their office location to, 20 to 30 miles in any one direction, okay? So I was originally setting my service area radius to about 25 miles. However, what I found, because what we were doing was we were using the free map tools, and I'm gonna demonstrate this application here in a minute, guys. But what I was doing was I was literally deduping. I would extract the data from the free maps tools and then put it into a spreadsheet, and then I would use remove duplicates if it was in Google Sheets, or I would just remove duplicates if I was using Excel or whatever. But I would dedupe the list to where it was just left with a singular city name for all the locations, however many locations there were. Can you guys still hear me?
Yep.
Okay, because I heard power flicker over here for some reason. Anyways, so we were eliminating the zip codes that would repeat with the same city name. So in other words, like a metro area will typically have a city name, but then multiple different zip codes with the same city name, right? And that's because there's more, more people and the population is much more dense in a metro area, so they have to have more zip codes, right? And so what we were doing before was deduping the list by city name to where we would eliminate all of the zip codes and we would only end up with one zip code per city, right? Or per city name. And so, and that was working fine because we were finding great opportunities. But I started testing and doing a little bit further, digging as far as doing deeper research. And I started looking at individual zip codes and started finding crazy amounts of opportunity. And again, it's only because of what happened in July with this mobile first index, guys. That is really what opened us up, because what Google is doing for mobile device users is hyper localizing results. And so we could literally look at two adjacent zip codes within the same city. So there's zip codes side by side, and you can find opportunity in either one of those zip codes that we would have overlooked before because we weren't looking at individual zip codes. We were just looking at at a city name in its entirety, if that makes sense. So that's really the primary difference, or the biggest change from what we were doing originally. Now it is much more granular, the research, but that's because we're finding much more opportunity through all of these. And so this is a very time-consuming process, guys, but this really is the start of this whole process. If you do your location research correctly, you're going to find opportunities that you can get traction with very little work, okay? And that's the whole point. So I'd rather spend the time, more time on the location research side of it than the actual development side, if that makes sense. All right. And here's the other thing. You guys, none of you should be doing any of this research on your own. Originally, to learn the process, sure, go through it. Do it a couple times so that you really understand it. I encourage you to do that. But then you should hire a virtual assistant and do it. Have a virtual assistant do your research for you, because this is, again, very, very time consuming. So, you guys can take the same, the procedure that I'm going to teach you here. It will be also put in the members area once the recordings, the webinar is done. I'm going to upload it to the members area, and I'll also add the slides in there. So you guys will have this. You can teach a VA to do this. Also, just keep in mind that we are developing process docs and all this so that you can literally train your outsourcers with the process docs that I use to train, and training videos that I use to train my VAs. But in order to get that, you have to be part of the mastermind. Sorry, just to let you know. That's not going to be added to the LLP or Local Lease Pro training. That's something that's specifically for the mastermind members. But you can come out, you can develop all your own process docs from the training if you need to. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is go walk through this, guys, so that you can see the process in action. The first thing we're going to do is go to zipcodes.com or zip-codes.com to find a zip code in the city center. All right, that's typically how I start. And then we're going to use the free maps tools tool to go select a service area radius and then collect all of the zip codes within that radius. Now, I'm setting my radius to 20 miles now instead of 25 because of how much more data we pull back. And then here's the thing. When I end up hiring a contractor as a service provider to service the leads generated from my assets, then if they go beyond a 20-mile service area radius, then I can go out and start selecting locations or researching locations outside of that. But initially, I'm keeping it to just a 20-mile service area radius from the city center of any metro area. When I say metro area, guys, that means a metropolitan area, right? Okay. So let's go ahead and walk through that process real quick. We're going to actually use an example that I was showing the mastermind members last week. But we're going to start with that one. So I've been researching. This is zip-codes.com, guys. I'm going to be building out some assets in Rochester, New York area. I've got a service provider already lined up there. So one of the things that I love this site, Zip-Codes. I've been using it for years for local stuff. But right here where it says other free lookups, you can just start to type in the name. So if I start typing in Rochester, you'll see it'll come up. So I just click on that. And then for the state abbreviation, it's going to be New York. So I'm just going to type New York. And then you'll see it'll suggest. So I'm going to click on that and click search. And then from here, you can see that it's going to bring this up. It's going to have zip codes or whatever. And I'm just going to click right on to the first one. It doesn't matter which one. Just click on one that says the city name. So I'm clicking on Rochester. And now what this does is this brings up all the zip codes within Rochester. Okay. And it shows you the population data. Any sort of PO box. Now, guys, I know this is probably small. Let me zoom in a little bit. Sorry about that. Any PO box is going to have 0 population, and any unique zip code is going to have 0 population. So I eliminate those. All right, because those we don't want to target or try to secure a GMB location in an area that has 0 population because it's not a physical location, if that makes sense. So that's why we would eliminate those. Excuse me. All right. So in order to find city center, right here on the zip-codes.com site where it says load city map, I'm going to click that. It just takes a second, and then boom, it loads this map, and it shows all these zip codes right here, and it shows where they are. Okay. So all I do is wherever the name is, which is typically Google displays, and I don't know if this is an actual Google map, but typically, I don't know if it is or not, but it doesn't look like Google Map, but usually where the name is listed is somewhere close to city center, right? So all I'm going to do is just click in there with my mouse, and it's going to tell me what that zip code is. So that says 14604. I could click up here maybe a little bit, and that says 14613, or over here another 14604, 14609. Okay, so I know that it's somewhere in these low 14600s. Right? So somewhere in there would be a city center. So I'm just going to select one. We'll go with the 14605, and that would be my center. That's what I'm just going to select as my center. Okay, so city center. So 14605. So the next thing I would do is go over to the free map tools, which actually I already have that open right here. And I'm going to go clear this. Let's just refresh. What did I say? 14605 is what I'm going to use. All right, so this is the free map tools. I gave you the link. It's find zip codes inside of a radius. I'll zoom in on this a little bit. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to set this radius in miles to 20. Oops, excuse me. And then I'm going to put 14605 in here as the zip code, right? That's the one I just selected. Yep. All right, and I'm going to click draw radius. Now what it does is you can see it says that it found 73 zip codes within a 20-mile radius. You see that, guys? All right. Now, but what's interesting, if you come down here where it says combined, and part of this training is already in the local Lease Pro training, guys. I'm just going through this. It's kind of a recap for those of you that haven't seen it too. So where it says combined down here, if you take a look, this actually has the zip code, the state, the county, the city, and then this shows time zone, which I don't care about that. And in distance, the last number that you see over here in this on the far right side is the distance from our city, our center, or our target point, right? So what's interesting, and I just found this out recently, but I told it that I wanted to just stop at 20-mile radius, and you can see that from this point on, those are all beyond 20 miles because it's 21. These are all the way at 32 miles from that 14605 zip code. I don't know why Free Map Tools does that, but I don't usually care. I just go ahead and have my VA add all of this data to the spreadsheet anyways, okay? Even though it's a little bit beyond what I had originally said, okay? So I just want to kind of point that out, guys, because you'll be like, well, those are way outside the 20-mile mark, right? Well, they are, and I don't know why Free Map Tools does that, but it does. So anyways, there we go. So from there, all I'm going to do is just click in, highlight all, and then copy. And then I'm going to format this data. And guys, I know there's some of you on here probably know how to use Excel and all kinds of stuff to do really cool things. I don't know how to do any of that shit. I still use Notepad and do stuff manually, which I'm going to show you how to format this data correctly so that I can put it into a spreadsheet. And honestly, I appreciate anybody that may want to, try to offer some help, but I'm not interested because I'm perfectly happy using my processes. All right. But what I'm going to do is just paste this data into this Notepad file. I'm going to put my cursor in there and then click the tab button. And the only reason why I do that is so that I can highlight that tab and copy it to clipboard. Then I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to go to Edit, Find and Replace, or just Replace. And I'm going to type in comma because I want to replace that comma with a tab. So I just paste that tab in. You can see it just appeared there, right? I don't know if you guys can see the cursor. I'm going to click Replace All. And that's formatted that now in tab delimited format so that I can copy all of it. And then I'm going to copy that to clipboard. So just cut it. And now I'm going to paste it into a spreadsheet. All right. Now, guys, this is the ELC or Easy Local Cache Location Research template. I put the link on the page. Okay. This is all the link to this is also in the training. This is, guys, do not ask me to edit this sheet because I'm not going to approve it. Okay. And now that I just said that, I know I'm going to get 8,000 requests to edit this sheet because that's what happens. But guys, all you have to do to use this sheet is just go to File, go to Make a Copy, and then import it, copy it into your own Drive file. Okay. And then once you've copied it, retitle it, or you can retitle it on that screen or whatever, but make a copy into your own Drive file, and then you can edit to your heart's content. Okay. But I'm not going to give you permission to edit this sheet, just so you know. I'm still going to get requests. I know it. So anyways, I made a copy. So you can see copy of ELC location research. And I called this one demo. I would rename this, obviously, like Rochester, New York, location research or something like that. But this is just for a demo. All right. So create that. Then what I like to do is I've got this. This is just the sheet that I use for my VA actually populates all the data on this sheet. But it works really well because it's simple and it's easy. So what I'm going to do is just add another sheet to the bottom so that I can copy and paste and format this stuff. Now, remember, I've still got all that data on my clipboard. So I'm going to go ahead and paste that in, and you can see there's the data. There it is. Okay. You guys see that? All right. So now I can get rid of this time zone column. I don't care about that. I can actually really get rid of both of these columns because I really don't need them right now. So I'm going to delete those. And then next thing I want to do is select or highlight all the data, and I want to sort by zip code. Okay. I don't want to sort in ascending order. So I'm going to come up here, go to data, and I'm going to go to sort range, and I do not have a header column, and I want to sort by column A. That's correct. And I want to sort in ascending order. So A to Z, that's correct. I'm going to click sort, and boom, that just sorted all that data for me. You see that? All right. So now it's sorted by zip code. Let me move back over. All right. So the next thing, let's go back to the slides for a minute. All right. Make a copy, add the drive account before editing, get population data from zip-codes, and then add population data to the spreadsheet. Now, this is part of the stuff that's really time consuming. Again, if you guys know of any way that's faster to do this, I am open to suggestions on this. Okay, as far as locating population data, this is how we do it. And again, it's not something I recommend that any of you do more than just to learn how to do it, because it's very, very time consuming. So I pay a VA to do this for me. All right, but from here, if you take a look, like what did I tell you before, guys? The reason I sorted those zip codes was because I'm just looking at Rochester right now, but you can see all these zip codes and they're in ascending order. And you can see that it's only from 14604 to 14626 that there's population, right? Those are the only zip codes that I really care about. The rest of them are going to be eliminated. All right. So what I'm going to do here is actually just start at 14604 and highlight this data down to here. And I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to come back over to my sheet, and I'm going to go to 14604, which is where it started for Rochester. And I'm just going to paste this in here. Okay. See that? And the reason why I do that is because all I really want is this right here. That's the population column. Okay. So I can eliminate this, and then I can eliminate these. Okay. So now I'm left with my population size. See that? Now that's just for the Rochester ones. Now for 14602, excuse me, and 14603, I'm going to eliminate those, and then I'm going to eliminate from 14627 to 14694. I'm going to eliminate all those. So right on the sheet, all I'm going to do is go over here and just delete these rows. Okay. So I'm going to delete those. Whoops. What did I do there? I meant to delete those. Try that again. Okay. And then I'm going to delete these as well. 14694. Was that the last one? Yes, that was. All right. So from there, each one of these city names, guys, if you scroll down on the zip codes, dash codes page or whatever, you can see where it says 90 cities within 30 miles of Rochester. So you can just click on Adams Basin, for example. This says Adams Basin, right? So if I click on that, you'll see what happens. And again, my VA does all this, but it says right here, population none. Or if you scroll down here where you see it, it says population 0. So that's a unique or a special or a PO box. It's a PO box zip code, right? So I'm going to eliminate that. There's really no sense in keeping that. So I would just go through this process one by one. And again, my VA would do this to go through one by one and determine what, if there's population, then they put the population number in that column. If there's 0, then just delete it from the sheet altogether. Does that make sense? And just walk through that process until all of them are done. So what was that, Avon? I think it was Avon. I'm not going to walk through doing this entirely, guys. I just wanted to point out what they do. So this is population 7,142. Well, those of you that are aware or have been through the original Local Lease Pro training, I have selected 10,000 population as my minimum number for a location in order for me to attempt to secure an asset in that zip code, right? So in other words, if there's not 10,001 population or more in a particular zip code, then I omit it from my research because it's too small of an area. Does that make sense? So in this case, Avon's at 7,142. So I could put that number in there if I wanted, or I could just go ahead and delete it altogether because I'm not gonna target that because it's too small of an area. Does that make sense? There's not enough population in that zip code. All right. So you guys get the point. Walk through all of this, have all of that data added. If it doesn't have, so there's a couple here that were within Rochester that are under 10,000. So I'd go ahead and delete those as well. There's that one. And then there's this one. So I'd delete those. And if you look, the rest of those are above 10,000. So I would go ahead and keep those. And then I would fill out, finish getting the data for all of those areas and eliminating the ones that had 0 population. Okay. So you can see that delete, I say add population data to the spreadsheet, deleting zip codes with 0 population. And then you got to get the geo coordinates for all remaining zip codes and add to the spreadsheet. Now, this was a very manual process in the original training. Because what I was having my VA do was actually go through for each location that's on the spreadsheet and then just go to Google Maps and type it in. And then, so type in the city name, the state, and then the zip code. And then when it pulled up on Google Maps, just click into the map around the center of the map. And if you click in like a double click, you'll see that there will be a little window that pops up that has a geo coordinate, which is the latitude and longitude. And my VAs were literally typing that because it's hard to copy and paste it. They would type that latitude and longitude into this sheet. However, I found a tool called Batch Geocoder or something like that that was awesome. That but then the POFU Live our live event that we had in October was called POFU Live 2018, and the members that the people that attended that, they're about 10 or so of them are working on scaling their lead gen asset building. They're working with me. We're all scaling at the same time, and we're all sharing data and sharing information and process, developing processes together and all that kind of stuff. And so the batch geocode tool that we were using, apparently all of my the members of the POFU group, and then my team, we broke it. We used it so much that it doesn't work anymore. I'm not kidding. So, but we did find a new one. And in fact, I think it was Grant, that one of our members, that found it, and I gave you guys the link for it. But that's called GPS Visualizer. You're going to need to get an API key in order to do that. So I'm not going to walk through like the process of doing that, guys. It's very simple. There's also help files on GPS Visualizer that will show you how to get an API key. But this is essentially what it is. And again, right here, guys, there's instructions on how to get it. Okay, so I'm not going to walk through that. You guys are all smart enough to follow instructions. But basically what you want to do is take the remaining data that you have with the locations and the population size that have been filtered out to 10,000 plus areas only, right? And then you want to format that data correctly and then input it in here and then click start geocoding, and it will spit out in text format using the Bing API or Bing Maps API. It'll spit out the geo coordinates, which will be latitude and longitude. So you can do all of them at one time. Okay. So again, I would highly recommend that you use that. It's going to save you a lot of time. So I'm just going to use these right here, guys, as my just these zip codes here, just to speed up the process, because again, I don't have all of the data right here for this. And I'll show you what a completed location research looks like, or sheet looks like, because I had my VA already do Rochester. But for simplicity's sake and for time, I'm just going to use these right here for right now. So what I would do is take these right here, put this into another column, and then I'm going to add New York. And then I'm going to add the zip codes. Okay, then I'm going to copy all of that and come back over to my text file, because I'm old school like that. And I'm going to copy that tab, because that's tab delimited, right? So I'm going to copy that to clipboard, and I'm going to go to edit, replace. I'm going to paste the tab in this time, delete the tab that's in the replace with, and I'm going to add just a space. I'm going to click replace all. I'm going to close that out. And now I'm going to geocode, get the latitude and longitude coordinates for each one of these zip codes. Does that make sense? So I'm going to come back over here to, where was I? There it is. Move that over here. Whoops. Shit. Sorry, guys. I got too many damn browsers open as usual. All right. So I'm going to paste that in, and then I'm going to click start geocoding. You can see it's got 21 lines that it's going to process for this, guys, and you can see the data right there. So it's going to take a few seconds for it to go through all 21 lines. Then once it does, I'm going to just copy that text right out of that box, and I'm going to paste it back into the spreadsheet. However, there's one thing that while it's pulling this data back, I can tell you. I'm just going to go ahead and paste that in starting right here, because it should give me latitude and longitude first. Yes, it does. Latitude and longitude. So I'm going to just paste that into this F and G column is where I'm going to start pasting at F. Well, F and G are going to be latitude and longitude. So you have to format those two columns correctly so that Google Sheets doesn't automatically remove any zeros at the end, because, it's past the decimal. Google will automatically remove those, or Google Sheets will. So what I'm going to do is highlight these two columns. I'm going to go up here where it says data, or excuse me, format, and where it says number. If you scroll down to where it says more formats, custom number format, you enter 0 dot and then 6 zeros. So 0.6 zeros and click apply. And now that's going to make sure that when I paste that data into these columns, latitude and longitude will remain with 6 decimal places past the, or 6 places past the decimal point. Does that make sense? Which is what you want. So that, because otherwise Google will remove any ending zeros. All right. So I'm sure this is done now. So what I'm going to do is go back over here, copy that data, copy to clipboard. I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to paste it in. And it looks like this time it actually had a header. So let me undo that, and we'll paste it here instead. Okay. So there you go. And so now we've got our latitude and longitude. The rest of this can go. I don't need that. So I can get rid of that. But you can see that now I have the latitude and the longitude in these columns for those areas. Does that make sense? So what I would do, guys, obviously I would have done that for all of these, but now what I would do is just come over here and collect or copy these, cut them, whatever, and then I would go back over to my sheet and I would put them in here. And now look, boom, it's all formatted just the way that I wanted. Zip code, state, county, city, population, latitude, longitude. And now I can start my research, analyzing the research, right? Well, I can't analyze yet. I still need the screenshots, but that's what comes next, right? Now this sheet is formatted and ready for the VA. Again, I don't recommend any of you guys do this other than just to learn it. But what my VA does is then goes and runs the Easy Local Cache software. It's free software. The link's on the page, guys. It's not our software. So, but just know that it's a free software. It works great. But what I do is I have a VA go out and run the software for each one of these locations. That's why we needed latitude and longitude. And then once the software is run and the results are back, which it's only going to show the top 10 results from Google Maps API for that specific geo coordinate. Okay, which is it's again, we're looking for opportunities that we can find for we're looking for areas or specific locations that show opportunity. And I'm going to show you what I'm looking for, guys, because that's changed too. Okay, so I'm going to show that to you in a minute. But what my VA does is takes a screenshot of each one of those Easy Local Cache software results screens, and then uploads it to Google Drive, gets the Google Share URL for that drive, that screenshot file that's in Google Drive, makes it, gets the Share URL, and then pastes that in this column. And that way, when I go to import this, well, first of all, once he's done, once my VA has done this and tells me, pings me in Slack or sends me an email and says, hey, Rochester, New York location research is done. Here's the Google spreadsheet. Then I open up the spreadsheet and I can just go right on down the line and click those links and open up the screenshot. And that's where the analysis begins, right? And so that's where we're going to walk through next is the analysis. All right. And so this is what let's see, that was the template. Make sure this is, yeah. Okay. So this is what a completed sheet looks like, guys. So you can see this is Rochester. This is what I was just talking about. And if you take a look, the ones down here that I mentioned that we don't research, my VA typically leaves them in the sheet instead of deleting them. But again, I would just recommend deleting them altogether. And then what was left was anything over 10,000 population, you can see ended up getting analyzed, right? And you can see every single one of them has a screenshot in this screenshot column. Okay. And so what I do is all I do is open up the screenshot. Let me show you what I mean. Click out of there for a minute. What I do is open up the screenshot, and here I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit, guys, and then we're going to walk through what I'm looking for, okay? Let's see, how can we do this? Well, shit. Is there a way to do it without it being so big? There we go. All right. So what are we looking for? Before, if you guys went through the original Local Lease Pro training, I talked about finding the super easy to rank properties, like the ones that are basically zero competition, which you can literally get in the 3-pack with nothing other than sometimes just claiming and verifying a profile. It doesn't even need to be optimized, and it can pop into the 3-pack often when you find the locations with next to no competition whatsoever. And that was one of the primary things that we looked at was in this column, in the owner verified column. We were looking for multiple no's, meaning many of the listings that Google Maps API pulled back. You can see what keyword I was using for this, guys. By the way, I highly recommend, and I said this in the training, that you search whatever keywords you want to be ranking for, append near me to them, and use that as your location research, because I seem to find more opportunities with near me keywords than with any other types. And near me keywords are driving, at least in the contracting businesses or contractor types that I generate leads for, near me keywords account for about 40% or more of the overall traffic to a GMB listing. And so because of that, near me keywords are prime opportunities right now, guys, for you to be targeting for these GMB location research. Okay. And so again, you can see the types of keywords that I'm using. So what I was talking about was an owner verified column looking for multiple no's, meaning non-owner verified, because if Google Maps API is pulling in the 10 best results or most relevant results for that specific location that we set, which is what we use the geo coordinates for, and there's the best results, the 10 best results that Google Maps API pulls in for that keyword in that specific location are going to be, if there's multiple non-owner verified profiles in there, that means there's literally no competition or very little competition. So what I found now, how has this changed? Well, you'll see that now it's not necessarily looking for non-owner verified profiles. We're going to be looking for indications that we can that will likely be able to rank even in a major metropolitan area with little to no work, or with just some moderate amount of off-page work, which again, we're going to cover some of that today on this webinar, some of the updates for the off-page stuff. So I don't even really care about the owner verified column at all anymore. That's a significant change from the original training, right? But because what I'm looking for now in the metro areas, it's going to be very difficult to find multiple non-owner verified profiles. And the reason why is because in a dense area where you have multiple zip codes close to each other, close proximity to each other, what happens is Google Maps API will pull in GMB listings that are close. They're adjacent, but they're not within the same zip code. And right there, guys, is your opportunity. Okay, that's the number one thing to look for. Miscategorizations and zip codes. That's where the new opportunity lies, guys. And that's what I'm trying to get at here with this. So let me just jump back over to the slides for just a minute, because I want to show you what we're looking for. Run the LC software for each location. Take a screenshot. Again, your VA should do this. Put the screenshot share URL in the spreadsheet. Then analyze the ELC data and look for opportunities in categories. I'm going to walk through each of these separately, guys, so you understand what I'm looking for. This is critical. This is some of the most important part of this training today, guys. This is absolutely critical. All right? Pay attention to the categories. Pay attention to the zip codes. Pay attention. And those two are zip codes, probably more. It's a combination of those two. But then also look at Google reviews and images, the column for Google reviews and images, and also look for website citations. Those are kind of secondary things to look for, but what I'm looking for mainly to begin with now is categories and zip codes. Okay, so let's jump back over to the screenshot. And what I'm talking about here is, so for remodeling contractors, there's two primary categories. There's general contractor, and then there's remodeler, and then there's two subcategories or variations of remodeler. There's kitchen remodeler and bathroom remodeler. Okay, those are all three categories within Google My Business. So the top, those are pretty much the four categories that you should see, with, to a lesser extent, handyman. Sometimes handyman will also be listed as general contractors, or remodelers. They'll do that too, but depending on what license level they have, they might not be able to do remodeling jobs because the contract price is too high. My point is this. You want to look for categories that are correct. If there's a lot of miscategorizations, so in other words, businesses that are listed that have the primary category wrong, then that's an opportunity. That doesn't mean that you're absolutely going to knock them out of the 3-pack and take over wherever they were because they had a miscategorization, but that's an indication that they are miscategorized, and that is a ranking factor for maps. Okay, so I take a look at categories and I start to notice, for example, like this has got an insulation contractor in the top 3. That's the Maps 3-pack, guys, for this location, 14450, which is Fairport, in the Rochester area. Okay, and what I'm saying here is the number 3 position, so C position in the 3-pack, is in the category is an insulation contractor, not one of the categories it should be: general contractor or remodeler, or one of the remodeler subcategories, kitchen or bathroom remodeler. Okay, number 4, siding contractor. Okay, you see that? Then insulation contractor again. So I'm seeing in the category section, I'm seeing 3 miscategorizations, 2 of which are in number 3 and 4 position. Does that make sense? Okay. Then what I'm also looking at is the Google reviews, because I'm looking for no reviews, which is that little line. And I see that there's 4 out of the top 10 that don't have any reviews. Then I look at images, and out of that, it looks like there's only 3 out of the top 10 that don't have images. But like this, there's only 3 out of the top 10 that don't have images. But take a look, this insulation contractor. Yeah, now take a look at his domain, remodeling Rochester. So it's obvious that this company does remodeling work, but their primary category isn't remodeler or general contractor, which are the 2 that should be the primary categories for a remodeling contractor, right? It's insulation contractor. So what I'm saying is there's opportunity. And not only that, but take a look. He's got 0 Google reviews. Wenner Brothers has 0 Google reviews, 0 images, 0 stars. Well, obviously they've got no reviews. And the last thing I look at is what this column over here called website citations. I never even talked about those originally in the original training, guys, because I didn't care. Because if you're following the original local Lease Pro location research training, you're looking for multiple non-owner verified profiles. And then it doesn't, because they're non-owner verified, it means they likely aren't going to have any website citations, and you're just going to be able to rank really easy in those areas. Since now we're talking about researching locations within a metro area, like I said, it's this becomes important, website citations, because you'll see in some of the really competitive areas, you'll see, you know, dozens, even sometimes hundreds of website citations for each of the listings. That means it's uber competitive. And so that's why I have that column showing now, is because I want to look. And so what I'm saying is in 14,450, it looks to me like there may be some opportunity here based upon just categories, just on Google reviews, images, and in website citations. However, the what I mentioned before was zip codes, and this is where really where this is the main signal. Okay, if I'm looking at this and you see 14,450, and I look over here, what I'm looking for is the zip codes of the actual locations of the businesses, the physical locations of the businesses that Maps API pulled in for this specific location. And you can see that the first 3 in this case are located in 14,450 Fairport, right? But number 4, which is one of the ones that it has a couple reviews, but it's miscategorized, that number 4, it's in 14,526, which is Penfield, okay? Then there's East Rochester, East Rochester, East Rochester. Then there's 2 more Fairports and in Penfield. So my point is there's only 5 out of the 10 that are shown here that are actually physically located in the area that we're researching. There's where the opportunity is. You guys get that? Because my point is we're targeting hyper local searchers, and Google is displaying results in a hyper local fashion now to mobile device users. So somebody that's in the 14,450 zip code area and they do a search on their mobile device, Google is only pulling in the top 10 results that it thinks, Google Maps API thinks, is the most relevant results to their search query, in this case, remodeling contractor near me, in that specific location, yet only 5 of the top 10 are actually physically located in that area. Does that make sense? So the opportunity is that we can, if we have a claimed and verified profile that's physically located in that zip code and it's well optimized, Google Maps API should absolutely pull it into the top 10 because it's going to be relevant. Does that make sense? So even if we don't get pushed into the top 3 immediately, we should be able to get instantly within the top 10. And then doing some of the off-page stuff that we do, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, we can hopefully push into the top 3. And then, guys, you'll see opportunities through this where you'll see even in like very dense population areas within the metro area, you'll find opportunities like this. That's why we opened this up this way and we started researching on a much deeper level now, because before we were missing all these opportunities. Let's go through one more example, guys, and then we're going to move on. All right. Something else, by the way, this notes column, guys, let me zoom in a little bit. Sorry, that's probably small. I put pros and cons. That's what I again, this process is constantly evolving, but what I found is I like to, in the notes column, put pros. And then if there's cons, I add cons. Sometimes it's just pros. It depends. And the reason why is because like, I like to do all my research and make a note of it and then go back and select which locations I'm going to, or I'll show you what I do. But and again, this is something that one of our POFU Live attendees showed me, but it's how to take this data from the Google Sheet and import it into Google My Maps. And I'm going to show you guys that, which will help you to select which locations you want to secure within a metro area. And what I like about putting these notes in this column is it will import all of this data into Google My Maps. I'm going to show you an example here in a minute. But that way, when I'm trying to determine which locations I want to select out of the ones that I've deemed are viable, I can see the notes and determine, because, obviously I want to be able to see what I've already analyzed without having to go through the analysis process on each location again, once it's in the map, if that makes sense. So I go ahead and just add the data over here. Guys, those of you that followed the original training, you know that if I highlight it bright green, it means it's a slam dunk, which means it's super easy. It looks like it's going to be really easy to rank with little to no work. If it's green, it means it's viable, but it's going to take a little bit of work. If it's if I say maybe, it means it's viable, but there's reasons why I think it's going to take more than just a little bit of work. Doesn't mean that I wouldn't pursue those guys, but remember, I want to go after easy targets. Okay. So let's just go take a look, and then turn it red. Okay. And then I put the reasons why. All right. But let's just take a look at one of the real easy ones that I found. And we'll take a look at why. So this is 14468 Hilton. So remember what I said about categories. Remember, remodeling contractor near me. It's the same keyword for all those locations that we just searched, guys. All right. But take a look. Number 1, plumber. That's miscategorization. D'Angelo's Plumbing and Heating, guys. Look at the zip code, 14459. I'm looking in 14468. So the number 1 position, guys, is miscategorized, and it's not even in the location that I'm researching. Does that make sense? Look at number 2, contractor. Well, contractor is very, very broad. I don't think that's the correct category. So I would call that miscategorization anyways, but that profile is somewhat optimized. And this is in 14426 though. So it's not even the correct location. Number 3, wrong location. This one is non-owner verified profile. It's a tile contractor, not a remodel. Even though it's Rosa Remodeling, their first category is tile contractor, right? So miscategorization. It's non-owner verified, 0 Google reviews, 0 Google images, 0 website citations, and it's not listed in the 14468. It's not physically located in that zip code. So you guys, do you see number 3 position right there? I ought to, with securing the asset, optimizing it, and doing nothing else, it ought to take over position number 3 because it will be located in that exact zip code. It will be categorized properly, and it will be well optimized. Does that make sense? So you guys can see that, like this one, and then look, bathroom remodeler, that's correct, but electrician, incorrect. Roofing contractor, incorrect. Plumber, incorrect. There's just a couple of them, 3 of them that don't have Google reviews, 3 of them that don't have images, and there's a couple non-owner verifieds. But if you take a look at the actual zip codes again, guys, it's what I said was so critical, 14468. I don't think there's not even one zip code, not even one business in the top 10 results that Google determines is the most relevant for this area are even located in that area. So you see where the opportunity is, guys? And that's what I was talking about. That's why this one was target or marked as green, which means slam dunk. And you can see pros, zip, and categories, right? And so if I take a look at that, that's what I'm saying. The categories, the pros are the pros and cons. The pros, the good things about this are miscategorizations abound, and there's not a single business that's pulled into the top 10 that are located in that zip code. Okay, so that's why I turned that one green. So you guys get that. All right, I'm going to move on. Because hopefully you guys understand how to use this sheet and how to populate this sheet. It's a lot of work. That's why I highly recommend that you have a VA do everything up until the screenshot point. Once they have added all the screenshots, guys, then I am still analyzing these and selecting the locations that I want to secure. And I'm the one creating the notes and all that. I haven't trained anybody to do that yet. Not that somebody can't be trained to do that. I'm not at a point yet where I'm ready to train somebody to do that yet. So I'm still doing this. But up to this point, the VA can do all of this, gather all this data for you guys, right? All right, so we're going to move on. So the next part of this, guys, is update the spreadsheet, add notes about each location. I like to use pros and cons, determine if viable, and note status in correct column. So you guys know I have the viable question mark column. I just put in there yes. If it's a slam dunk, I highlight it bright green, or I put no, or not likely, or maybe. That in the viable column, it's either yes, maybe, not likely, or no. Those are the 4 responses that I put in that column. You can put in whatever responses you want. I'm just letting you know what I do. Okay. Sort the sheet by the viable column, which is what you're looking at over here on my sheet. I've got it sorted by viable in descending order so that it's the yeses are at the top. And then I'm going to copy all viable listing data and add to a new spreadsheet. And that's because it just makes it easier to import the data to my map. So let me show you what I mean. So what I did was, once again, come up here, click on that to highlight all. Then I go to data, and I go to sort range. Data has a header row. In this case, it does. And I want to sort by the viable column, which is I. So I'm going to go down here and go viable. And I want to sort Z to A so that the yeses are at the top. And I click sort, and boom, it would have sorted this sheet. Okay, because originally this was not sorted like this, but I just did that because this is how I typically do it. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this data right here, and I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to open up a new spreadsheet. Okay, and I'm going to call this one Rochester LLP norm. All right, so what I'm going to do is just paste this in. Okay, that's all I need right there. I've got this data pasted in. I remember, guys, I would have had all of the 20-mile radius, not just this. These are just Rochester zip codes, but you get what I'm saying. So I paste this data in, and now what I'm going to do is go to My Maps. Okay, so let me show you what this is. Go to google.com/mymaps and create a new map. And you're going to title the map after the main metro area. In this case, it'd be Rochester, New York. Then I'm going to click the blue import link and select Google Drive and navigate to and select the new Google Sheet with the viable data, which is what I just created, that little Google Sheet, right? And now I'm going to walk through the process, but essentially you're going to add pins from the coordinates. Google will prompt you to select what data you want to, for the pins, the maps markers to be located. So we're going to use, it's going to auto select latitude and longitude because it's already in the data sheet. And then we're going to select the zip code as the title for each pin or map marker. And we're going to click finish to create the map. All right. And you guys are going to see how cool this is. And once again, thanks to Grant, of the POFU Live attendees who came up with this process. It really saved me a lot of time because my VA was literally plotting these points manually before, and now we just import them. So I'm going to go over to Google My Maps. Stand by. Oops. All right. So right there, big red button, click Create New Map. I'm going to title this Rochester, New York LLP demo. Save. And right here where it says import, I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click on Google Drive. And we want to go to, let's see, I was going to see, where the hell did I save that, first of all? Let me find out where I saved it first. It's just in my drive. Let me move that first, guys. Stand by for a minute. Actually, let's see. Recent. Sorry, there we go. Rochester demo right there. Okay, select. I'm going to select that. It says fetching upload failed, 64 characters. Oh, you know what? It's taking my notes. That sucks. Let me actually just remove that. That sucks because it's not going to have my notes in there. Unfortunately, it doesn't like that pipe symbol, guys. So, and it might not like the number sign. So I'm going to have to edit those. Anyways, let me just cut those out of there for now. And we'll come back to it. Would have been nice to have my notes in there, but I forgot that it doesn't like that, and I meant to change that, and I didn't do it. So anyways, let's try it again. We're going to click on import. I'm going to go to recent, Rochester demo, click select. Now, right here where it says choose columns to position your placements, right there is latitude and longitude. If I would have left the column headers in there, it would have selected those. Shit, why is it not letting me do that? Son of a bitch. Stand by for a minute, guys. I'm sorry. Let me back this up for 1 minute. Should have left the column headers in. Whoops, wrong one. Last time. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so it pulls latitude and longitude in automatically. So don't forget to leave the column headers in there like I just did. All right, I'm going to click continue. And now what I do is just select zip code, and that's going to title each one of the pins as the zip code. Okay, because that's we're literally researching every zip code, so that's how I want the pins titled. So I'm going to click finish. And this is awesome. See how awesome that is, guys? It just pulled in all those pins, all those locations with Rochester right in the middle. I'll zoom in just a little bit. All right, then over here where it says all items, you'll see where it says uniform style. We'll click that and go from uniform style to individual styles. Okay, first do that. And then you'll see over here, now each one of these, if I click on it, what it does is it pulls in all the data, guys, all the data from my spreadsheet. So I've got the state, county, city, population, latitude, longitude, the screenshot, and then there's the notes column. If I didn't have those special characters in there, it would have pulled my notes in. So I would have had my pros and cons listed right here too. Does that make sense? That's why I like all that stuff in there. Now, if I wanted to, and if I needed to, I could click on this to go take a look at that location research screenshot again if needed. Does that make sense? So everything is right there in my map, which is amazing. Okay. Now, the next thing that we would do is determine which locations out of these pins that we're going to select. Now, how do I determine what I'm going to do there? Well, the point here, guys, is these are all the Rochester zip codes that pulled back, right? And what I want to do is I want to secure as many assets in a metro area, in this case, Rochester, that will give me the most coverage of the entire service area radius. In other words, I want to try to space out and secure GMB locations that where the service area is for each location, which we're going to keep very, very small, a very small, tight service area around each location. Usually I set it to 5-mile radius, which means, you know, a 10-mile service area, 5 miles in any direction from the physical location. So what I'm typically do is I try to secure or identify these locations that I'm going to attempt to secure, right? But I want to make sure that there's 10 miles of distance between any two locations or two adjacent locations. All right. So again, I put that in the notes. Analyze and select locations based on service area coverage. I like to keep 10 miles between locations. Yes, I will fudge that slightly if needed. Like if two locations that are looked to be really good opportunities are only 9 miles apart, does that mean I won't select both of those locations? No, it means I will, but I try to keep them at 10 or more miles apart, if that makes sense. Okay. And then I color code the pins to note the statuses. So again, like over here, for example, now there's a couple ways you can do this. I originally was starting by going around the perimeter and working my way into city center, but now I'm actually starting in the city center and then working my way out. Okay. And the reason why is because I want to try to get at least one zip code right in the middle of the city if possible. If that makes sense. All right. So in this case, guys, what I would do is I would start with one of these 3 pins right here, because these 3 pins are the city center, right? They're basically right around the middle of the city. In fact, it's really these 2. More so than even that one. But my point is, these are the 3 that I would start with. So let's take a look at this, for example. This one has a population of 16,200. This one has a population of 17,000, almost 400, and this one's 12,000. Okay, so out of these 3, I would probably start with this one because it's got the higher population. It's close to city center. So let's just say, okay, I'm going to select this one. Now, what I do in this, and again, I'm just saying, this was viable. That's all we did was select the viable or imported the viable locations only. So I really don't have a lot of research to do here other than proximity, like where they are in location to other potential assets. All right. So in this case, I would turn this one green. So I just click on that little paint bucket and I'm going to turn that one green. And that, so now I know that's one that I'm saying, okay, I'm tentatively selecting this one. All right. And then I would say, okay, well, how much distance is there between this one and this one? Okay, because that looks to be awfully close, so it's probably likely that I'm not going to end up getting either of these if I do decide to select this one, because they're going to be too close to this one, and I don't want much overlap, if that makes sense. Okay, so how do you determine that? Very simply, go to Google Maps, not my maps, but go to google.com/maps. Oops, that's not what we wanted. Maybe it's maps.google.com. That works. All right. And so from what I would do is go 14,611. I would just type that right into here, right? So 14,611, Rochester. It's not pulling up. Okay. 14,611, Rochester, New York. I'd click that. That's going to put a, and then I'm going to click on directions, excuse me. And then I'm going to come back over here and I'll say, okay, well, where is 14,607 in relation to 14,611? So I would type in 14,607, Rochester, New York. I'm going to click on that. And then between the two, you'll see that, look, there's only about 3 to 4 miles difference or distance, depending on which route you take. So by way of the crow, right, in a straight line, it's probably about a 3-mile difference, right? 3 miles between this pin and this pin. Well, that's too close. And that's what I was just saying. That's how I determine whether or not I would say, okay, well, you know what? These 2 are probably going to be off limits because they're too close to this one. And what about this one? How far away is that one from this one? Let's see if that's an opportunity. So we're going to leave 14,611 in the driving directions thing, and then we're going to go research 14,621. So let's get rid of this one, 14,621, Rochester, New York. Okay, now this is saying about 4 miles difference. See that? 4 miles roughly between this pin and this pin. So once again, I would say, you know what, these are all going to be too close to this one. If I'm going to select this one, which I might not, I may, after doing additional research out here and stuff, saying, okay, you know what, let me back up and I'm going to start with this one now. So again, this is a very time-intensive process, guys, but I think this is very critical to try to determine which areas you want to try to secure, especially, you know, when you're paying for them. You want to make sure that you have selected the proper location spaced out fairly evenly across the city so that you're getting the most coverage without overkill, without needing too many assets or trying to secure too many assets, if that makes sense. All right. So what I would do is come back over here and say, you know what, that's too close to there. I'm going to turn this one red. I'm going to turn this one red. Whoops, wrong red. And I'm going to turn this one red as well, because they're all too close to the one that I've said that I'm going to select, which is here. All right, well, let's go ahead and check this one. It might be far enough between these two. Or maybe this one and this one. So let's just check this one out. This is 14, 6, 11. We're going to leave that, and then we're going to check on 14, 6, 17. All right, look at that. Those are still very, very close, about 6 to 7 miles apart. So once again, very, very close. What I want is about 10 miles apart, because if I have 10 miles apart and I'm setting each location to a 5-mile service area radius, then I would have basically those two edges just about touching, or just a little bit of overlap if that was the case. And since these are only about 6 or 7 miles apart, again, I would say those are a little bit too close. Right, so I would probably say, okay, you know what? I'm not going to target any of these on the northern side of the town or the city. So in that case, and again, guys, this is why I said this can be time consuming, because now I'm looking at this and I'm saying, well, if I select this and that's going to prevent me from getting any of these up there, maybe what I should do is reconsider and start with one of these up here, and then try to find some, or you know what I mean, so that I get more coverage. I don't want to miss these areas entirely, if that makes sense. If this area wouldn't cover all of it. So again, it can take some time to determine which areas you want to end up securing, guys. But that's why, you know, you take your time doing this. Is very, very important. All right. So like, for example, if I wanted to look at this one now, this was what, 14,612. Let's just try that one real quick. 14,612. All right, see that, guys, that's 10 to 11 miles apart. So that one that I could say, okay, you know what, that fits my criteria. It's got 34,500. That's a fairly large population. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that one green. And so that would be one that goes on my list. And so in this list over here, where I say GMB purchased, I would say for, first of all, get back up. I would put this one, which is 14,612. I would say yes, right? Because that means that's one that I would order. And then I would also order this one, which is 14,611 and 14,612. Does that make sense, guys? So I would have these two in there, and then I would continue this process until I've gone through all of these locations and determine which ones I'm going to keep, which would be green. The ones that are red are ones that I'm going to omit or not try to secure because they're too close or for some other reason. And then if there's any that I haven't decided on, like for example, Ontario, if we actually take a look at how far this is from, you know, somewhat city center, you'll see that that's well beyond 20 miles. It's like out in a 30-mile range or something like that. And so I would just leave that one blue, because blue means it's still available if I want to come back and research it later, or it's a potential asset to secure at a later date. I'll just leave that blue. Red means no. Green means I'm going to secure it. Blue means it's a potential that I can come back to at a later date. Because if I get a service area, or excuse me, a service provider who says, hey, I'm more than happy to go more than 20 miles outside of Rochester. Like, you know, I'll drive 50 miles in any one direction. Well, then now that just opened up these areas all around out here, right? So these are available at that point for, you know, potential locations. All right. So hopefully you guys get that. I know that was a very long demonstration, but that's really important, because I think the location research is one of the most important things, guys. And you can see how much of a difference the location research has gone from what it was originally. It's much more granular. There's a lot more work to do, which is why I highly recommend that you have a VA do this. This is something we may provide as a done-for-you service inside of our store at some point, but that's not available yet. So I would recommend that you train your own VA to do this. Okay. All right, guys, secure your chosen locations with GMB assets. You know, I highly recommend that you just hire us to do it. GMB verification, it's right there. I dropped a link on the page earlier. We just ran a sale a couple weeks ago, and we'll probably run another sale here soon for GMB verifications and other things. But my point is, guys, I know some of you will want to go out and try to secure these on your own. That's fine, but you got to think about what your time is worth. One of our mastermind members asked that. He said, you know, why would I want to use the verification service if they're close to me, if the assets that I'm trying to secure are local to me and I can drive to them? And I said, well, what's your time worth? You know, like here's the thing, guys, like even using the PO box method, which still works to go get, you know, and using the street address option to go secure a GMB location. If you're doing that yourself, even if it's local, like my point is, if it's a 30-minute drive to the post office to go set up a PO box, fill out the paperwork, pay for it, get the keys, get the box assigned, all that stuff, and then it's a 30-minute drive back to your house, and then you got to set up the GMB asset or try to claim it, and then wait 7 to 10 days and drive back to the post office another 30 minutes to pick up the verification card, and then drive another 30 minutes back to your house and then verify it. You're looking at a minimum of round trip drive time plus the time to set up the GMB and verify it. You're looking at about a 2.5 hours. And that's if the location that you're trying to secure is only within a 30-minute drive, right? And so what I'm saying is it's 2.5 hours minimum of your invested time. Plus you have to wait a week to 10 days anyways to get the card. Plus it's your travel, you know, the gas money traveling and all that. So my point is, what's your time worth? What's 2.5 hours of your time worth that you could have been researching additional locations to secure or working on monetizing assets that you already have, right? My point is, guys, your time is better spent working on your business instead of driving around collecting postcards from PO boxes, right? Hire somebody to do that if that's the case. You know what I mean? So, or you hire us to do it and then it's just done and we deliver it to you. It's already done. Okay. All right. So we're done with the location research. We're going to move on. The rest of this webinar will go a lot quicker, guys. I promise. That was very, very slow, but that's because, like I said, that is the biggest change was the location research, because now we're looking on a much more granular level because we're finding much more opportunity even in the metro areas, guys. Just to go back really quickly to look at this, guys. Remember, this is my completed sheet here. Where the hell did it go? I got too many damn sheets open. So this one, this is my completed sheet, guys. And I mean, look at that. There's out of all of these locations, guys, we're looking at 23 locations within the Rochester area that are viable. Okay. I think I ended up ordering 10 or 11 locations out of these 23 I have a completed my map with the locations that I'm going to secure already. And I think I chose 10 or 11. I can't remember. But 10 or 11 locations within Rochester. And when I totaled up the population size for the areas that I've chosen to secure, it ended up being 360,000 some odd population that I'm going to end up having access to or reach to from these GMB assets. That's huge, right? And again, guys, not all of them are going to rank in the 3-pack overnight. That's not going to happen because this is a metro area. So it is absolutely more competitive, but with it properly optimized and having a physical location in the area, right? That's what we're talking about. Proximity. We're trying to serve results based on proximity. And so that's why we want multiple locations within a metro area, because we want to have an asset that's close to whoever's searching, wherever they're searching. Does that make sense? So guys, there's so much opportunity. It's just ridiculous. And that's why I said right now, take advantage of it. All right. So once again, if you purchase Local Lease Pro today, if you haven't already joined, we're offering it with a $300 discount using that coupon there. And you get all these bonuses, which the bonuses are going to be taken away. We're not going to raise the price on the product or anything like that. You'll still be able to use the coupon for the next few days or whatever, but the bonuses are going to go away. Okay. Every day, more and more bonuses are going to go away. So the 15-minute quick start call with me, that's directly with me, guys. I've been doing nothing but GMB asset building for the last 2 months. So trust me, the 15-minute call with me would be good for your business. I can help you with whatever struggles you're having specific or any questions you have about your specific business. Okay. Video lead gen system. It's the exact same process that I use to communicate with clients and the prospect. Okay. I've been using it for years. It works like crazy. Just ask many of our mastermind members who are using the video lead gen system to build their own agencies. Okay, it works, guys. You can get it for $200 or you get it as a bonus for buying this. One done for you, GMB verification, $150 to $200 if you're paying full price from our store, depending on what size, city, and all that kind of stuff. But that's the value. You're going to get one of those included so that you can go out, do this location research, select your locations, and we'll provide one of them for you so that you can get started. All right. So go also. Like I mentioned before, those of you that are attending live, if you stay to the end, if you buy today, it has to be before midnight tonight. There's going to be a special unannounced bonus that I'm going to talk about for fast action takers at the end of this webinar. Once we end the broadcast. All right, moving on. Part 2, GMB management. All right, so this has been a question that's come up recently on the Hump Day Hangouts, as well as some of our groups and things like that. And should you use a GMB manager account? Well, it depends. And that's really the standard answer for everything, right? It depends. Originally, guys, I've always used manager accounts primarily for managing or editing GMB, Google My Business data, optimizing profiles, things like that. I usually use a manager account myself or another account. But for client businesses, for example, my main account has been added as a GMB manager to all of my clients' locations. And so I can access and edit all of their Google My Business profiles through my own main Google account, right? And that makes sense. So people are asking, should we assign a manager to these assets? And I say it depends because, guys, you have to think about what your business is. If you're doing client work and you're dealing with genuine businesses, then it's fine to add a GMB manager, and make changes and access the locations from the manager account because they're all real businesses. Even if you mix in some lead gen assets with your real businesses, it's probably going to be okay because you have a diversified manager profile where you're probably managing multiple type businesses that are all real and genuine that can be verified if needed, right? So that's perfectly fine to do. But think about what you're doing when you're creating lead gen assets. When you're creating lead gen assets, they're black-hatted assets, guys. They're spammed assets. They're not. So my point is, I don't like using a manager account. And ask me how I know. I've experienced. I lost a whole location cluster because I had everything tied together, not just with a manager account. I was using something called location groups, which again was a test, and it proved to be a stupid idea because I ended up losing all those assets. I lost 7 assets in the Atlanta area all at once. So anyways, but what I don't like to do is leave a footprint for lead gen assets, guys, because I don't want anything to connect my assets together. I want to reduce as many connections between assets as possible. Okay. Can't eliminate them entirely. I saw one of the questions on the event page earlier that somebody was asking about using a logo and that kind of stuff. And I'll address that when I get to the Q&A, guys. But my point is I wanted to try to leave as little footprint as possible because these are lead gen assets, not genuine businesses yet. Right. So I try to reduce footprint. And so leaving a manager account is like, for example, if in the Rochester area, let's say I had 10 locations secured and I tie all of them together with one manager account, then that manager account is leaving a footprint to all of those other locations, right? And it's okay to do that even with lead gen assets if you're doing it like what Marco does. For example, Marco does use manager accounts to edit all of his lead gen assets, but Marco is optimizing for multiple different types of industries. In other words, he's working in more than just one industry. So what he does is he has multiple manager accounts, because just multiple Google accounts, right? And he'll take one Google account and randomly select from all the different industries he's working in. He'll select a GMB asset from one industry and maybe 2 from another, and then another one from this one from another industry. And he'll have one of his Google profiles connected to several different types of businesses. So that makes it look like a natural GMB profile manager or a natural GMB manager, right? Because that's what digital marketers and agencies would do, right? They would be managing multiple types of businesses usually. However, that works fine if you're going to do it that way. But I'm targeting one vertical specifically, right? So like for my business, I target tree service contractors for my own business. And then for our business collectively with Semantic Mastery and our contractor media agency, we're targeting remodeling and general contractors. So because of that, I don't want to have a manager account tied to, like, for example, in my case, one manager account tied to, 50 tree service GMB assets. Because if that's the case, what happens if Google gets smart and determines that all of those locations have been tied together through this one manager account and it doesn't like it? Then that's exposed all of those locations through my manager connection. Does that make sense? So it's very dangerous to do so. Now, again, guys, I have had manager accounts terminated in the past and it didn't affect the primary owner account. So in other words, when you create a Google My Business listing, the Google account that creates the listing is by default the primary owner of that Google My Business listing. Now you can transfer all of that once it's created and verified. You can add users and change ownership and transfer ownership and all of that kind of stuff. That's fine. But what I'm saying is there's a Google profile that owns, I'm using air quotes, that owns or is the primary owner of that GMB asset. And then you can add a manager. So what I'm doing is I'm actually using the browser keeper apps. That's what I call them, but something like Browsio. I use Browsio, but Ghost Browser is another one that you could use, to where when I get the GMB verification back from our store and I got the login details, I log in through, whether it's my own IP or a proxy, it really doesn't matter, but I log in through a browser keeper app, right? And in that browsing session remains live or in session. No matter whether I close the app down or not, it's always logged. I'm always logged in. So, and it starts to accrue browsing history and search history and, interactions and all that. Google starts to build a profile based upon that profile and its browsing history and the sites that it visits and its activity. And by keeping it in a browser keeper app, every time I go to access that profile, I'm always logged in to that same profile, and all the history and activity has been kept within that session. So it looks much more natural, and that way I don't have to worry about having a manager account that's creating a footprint across all of those. If that makes sense. So what I'm saying is I highly recommend, my method is, and the local Lease Pro method is about specializing in one industry, guys, one vertical. And there's a reason for that, so that you can scale quickly. And if you're going to be following that method, then I recommend you don't use manager accounts unless, and here's the only caveat, the exception, unless you're going to add a manager temporarily just to make some changes to a profile, and then immediately upon completing those changes, removing that manager. Now, that makes sense too, because then here's the thing, guys. Let's say that you set up a generic manager account, okay, that you use to access all of your GMB assets. But what I would recommend is that you would log in through the primary owner account, add that GMB manager, then make your edits or whatever through the manager account, and then remove that manager once the edits are completed, so that there's no lasting footprint between those accounts. Does that make sense? So why would you do something like that? Well, for example, we're going to be offering done-for-you GMB optimization services and posting and all kinds of stuff. We're going to be able to, our store, mgyb.co, will be making those services available soon, probably next month. Anyways, we are going to need to be able to access your assets, which I just said, don't use a manager account. Well, how are we going to access your assets if we can't use a manager account? Well, we at that point say, okay, assign us, and we'll give you a specific manager account email. Assign this account email to your GMB asset. We will do all the optimization, and as soon as we're done and we tell you and notify you that the project's complete, then you can remove us as a manager. Does that make sense? So that way our manager account can access your GMB asset and make the changes or optimize, do whatever it is that you hired us to do. And then when we're done and we notify you and you're happy with the work, you remove us as a manager so that there's not a footprint left between that connection and all the other ones. Does that make sense? So anyways, the point is, guys, what I'm highly recommending that you do is that you use Ghost Browser or Browsio or any type of app like that. It doesn't have to be either of those. I really don't care what you use, just something like that. And what I'm doing is I log in through the primary owner account and I do all of my activity under the primary owner account. I'm not using manager accounts unless it's temporary for a specific reason. And then as soon as that work is done, I remove that manager. And that's only because, like I said, I'm trying to reduce footprint issues so that my assets don't get lumped together as spammed addresses and then get all terminated, if that makes sense. Like I mentioned just a minute ago, guys, I have had terminated manager accounts terminated in the past, and it didn't affect a GMB asset that was owned by another Google profile. But if a Google owner profile gets terminated, then you lose the asset. You lose the ability to access that asset or edit it or do anything. Even if you're a manager and the primary owner account gets terminated, you can't access and manage that account anymore. Does that make sense? So my point is, like, but like I said, that in the past I've had manager accounts terminated and it didn't affect the primary owner account. So the GMB profile still remained live, right? It was still published. It was live. It didn't get terminated. But I'm not going to take that chance now because we're building assets at scale now. Now we're doing not a couple of assets here and there. Now we're doing dozens and dozens of assets at a time. And because of that, I don't want to leave any potential footprint that Google can latch onto. Does that make sense? So hopefully you guys get that. Now, Marco, do you want to comment on that before I move on? Because I know your method's slightly different.
No, but you mentioned how I do it.
Yep.
So no need to go over it again. It's just really simple. It's just two different ways of doing the same thing.
Okay. Very good. All right, I'm going to drop these on the event page, guys, and we're going to move on. We're almost done. So these were the links for that part. All right, we're going to keep moving. All right, so GMB management, guys. I dropped the link just now on the page for our GMB auto post scheduler, or what we call the auto poster. Guys, that's awesome. It's just a simple software. It works, does exactly what it's supposed to do. It's super simple. It's great because you can schedule posts. Again, it's not something you guys should be doing. You can hire a VA to do it. Inside Local Lease Pro, I talk about, I think I provided some post templates, but you can come up with your own post templates. If you can use mine, you can come up with your own post templates and you can assign them to a VA. A VA can just swap out tokens within the post templates and then post these posts and schedule them. And what I'm doing for contractors, guys, is a daily post. So we're doing one post per day, seven days a week, 30 to 31 days per month. And so for every single one of my locations, the VA will go in after they've optimized the profile and they add the account to the auto poster. And then they go in and they schedule 31 posts, one per day for 31 days. And then there's an option inside the post scheduler to reschedule or republish the post to be you can schedule the post to be republished again at a later date. And there's a drop down and you can select 30 days. So in other words, if we post today's post today, we do another post tomorrow, another post in 2 days from now. Well, 30 days from today, that first post gets republished. 31 days from today, that second post gets republished. 32 days from, 2 days. And you see what I'm saying? So it just republishes. So my point is my VAs go in and they can sit down and take about an hour to an hour and a half and schedule out 30 posts for that location. And then they'll select that reschedule option and select 30 days later to have it republished. And then once an hour and a half later, guys, like within 90 minutes or so, my VA is done. And that location is now automatically going to post once per day, every single day forever, right? Because we set it up to do so. And that's great because that provides that activity. And here's the thing. One of the new features to the GMB auto poster is the ability to add spin tags. So you can actually take your post templates and spin them together and add that into the auto poster when you go to schedule the post. And each time it publishes a post, it's going to extract an unspun version of that spin tax, right? That spun article or GMB post in this case, and it's going to publish it with an unspun version of it. Does that make sense? And so you can make them unique even if they're republishing every 30 days. because it will just pull out a new one, right? And my point is and by the way, I'm working on a solution right now that we're going to be able to provide inside of our store, MGYB, for super spun GMB posts. So in other words, you can come hire us to create a super spun GMB post for you that you can now use for your locations, right? So that's coming. It's not available yet, but it's coming. It will probably be available next month. So we're working on that right now as we speak. So GMB management, guys, right now, I'm going to talk about the briefcase, which it's in development right now. That's the upgrade to the GMB auto poster. Right now, you guys only can get access to the GMB auto poster. It's fabulous. But what I would suggest you do is use the GMB auto poster right now, subscribe to whatever level is going to suit your specific business. It's based upon number of posts per month. But soon, within a few weeks, we're going to have the GMB briefcase available as an upgrade, which will replace the auto poster. And it just adds a whole lot of additional functionality. So first of all, let me just quickly walk through this. I was actually going to walk through setting up a post, guys, but I'm not going to do that because this webinar is going to go too long. So I'm not going to actually walk through the inside of the auto poster. I'll probably add some supplemental training inside the membership area, guys, for that, because now you can silo post together. And like I mentioned, spin tax, and you can also, there's a siloing option with GMB posts, which is incredibly powerful, guys. And I can show you how. I'll add some supplemental training inside the members area for that. I'm not going to have time to go through that today on this webinar. But this is the Google My Post or Google My Business Post Scheduler. And if you scroll down, you can see these are the different levels. It's based upon posts per month. Until the briefcase is available, guys, what I have been doing was I was getting the enterprise level for each the enterprise level allows up to 500 posts per month. Well, if you're doing 31 posts per location, then you could have 16 locations in one auto poster account, because 16 times 31 equals 496. So you could have 16 locations posting once per day, every single day, 31 times a month, and it gives you 496 posts in a month. So you'd end up with 4 additional posts left at the end of the month for the enterprise account. However, so just so you know, that's how I was doing it. If you're not at that level yet, don't worry about that. Get what you need and use it. It's super easy. The software is super easy to use. It does some really cool things. All right. And then once the briefcase is available, you guys can get into that. And that's not based on number of, I can't really show you much about the briefcase yet other than what's on the slide, but it's based upon number of locations, not number of posts. So it's much more functional for those of us that the briefcase is much more functional for those of us that are scaling this to big numbers, many, many, many locations, right? So there are some limitations to the auto poster right now. And there's the briefcase plans. Oh, well, it's not available yet, so I don't know why he's got these showing yet. maybe when it comes out yet. There's some of the briefcase stuff, guys. It's based upon number of location listings you manage. See that? So for $200 a month, it's unlimited posts. That's what I love about the briefcase, plus some other cool stuff. So let's get back over to slides. The GMB briefcase, guys, will allow you to schedule GMB posts just like the auto poster. Will allow you to schedule and republish, ability to use spin tax, and plus the GMB post silos, which is, again, super powerful. That's available right now in the GMB auto poster. Okay, but it's also, like I said, the briefcase just has that plus all this other functionality. And again, I'll add some training about that in the members area. GMB management. From inside the briefcase, you'll be able to track insights, manage GMB fields like edit info, the GMB info data, such as description, service area, photos, and you'll be able to track and respond to reviews right from within the GMB auto poster. And guys, or the GMB briefcase in this case, it connects via API, right? So it's safe to be able to manage and make these changes from within the software. It's safe to do so. Okay, so again, it's why I tell you, this is, in my opinion, this is a critical component of this process. The auto poster is, and in my case, the briefcase, because I'm on the beta end, I'm kind of help testing and squashing bugs and stuff on that side now. But it will be available to you guys very, very soon. And again, I think the briefcase is it's a critical component to this process, just so you know. Track keyword ranking, daily geo coordinates based keyword rank tracking for Google, Google Maps, Google Mobile, Bing, and Yahoo. What do I mean by that? It means this will track on a daily basis keyword rank tracking on all of those platforms, Google, right, standard Google, right, desktop, laptop, Google Mobile, Google Maps, as well as Bing and Yahoo, and it will track all of those based upon geo coordinates. Just like what we're setting when we're using the Easy Local Cache software, we set a coordinate. We can set coordinates in the keyword rank tracking. Okay. So again, it's much different. A lot of the rank trackers out there now, you can set a general area, but you can't set a geo coordinate. You can't get that granular with rank trackers, and most of them out there. This one will allow you to do that. So you get very hyper localized search results, or rank tracking, hyper localized rank tracking, which is very difficult to do without having the ability to input geo coordinates. Okay. RSS input. You can add website RSS feeds to auto post from your blog to your GMB. So in other words, you can have RSS feeds feed content into the GMB auto poster. And likewise, it also has an RSS output, which is currently in the briefcase. It's still being worked on. There's some bugs with the RSS feed. I did a Syndication Academy update webinar last week, and I was running into some issues with that during that webinar. And since then, it's been fixed, but then it's been broken again. So anyways, it's under development. But the RSS output is great because it will allow you to get an RSS feed from your GMB posts, which means you can syndicate GMB posts to a syndication network. You can post out to your social networks like Facebook, or cross post to Facebook and all that kind of stuff. But super, super powerful what we can do, especially when you start to silo GMB posts and you have a syndication network. It can be incredibly powerful. And again, more training will come out on that, guys, once the RSS feed stuff gets fixed. I'm going to do much more extensive training on that. Okay. So I'm going to move on, but that's the GMB briefcase, guys. I highly recommend that you check out the auto poster for now. And when the GMB briefcase is available, you will certainly be notified, and then you can upgrade at that time. All right. All right. So once again, I got to do the pitch slide. Guys, if you pick up Local Lease Pro, if you haven't already purchased it, if you'll get these are bonuses that will be taken away within 24 hours. We're going to start taking bonuses away within 24 hours. The price is going to remain the same. You can buy it by going to semanticmastery.com/local-holiday. Use that coupon holiday update 300. You get 15-minute phone call with me. Again, I've been building lead gen assets for about 9 years now. And over the last couple of months, I've built dozens and dozens of them. I've got a team building them. Guys, I can help you with your specific situation. Just help guide you in the right direction if that makes sense. And that's what that 15-minute call is for. Video lead gen system, the same system I've used to build my own agency, as well as secure service providers for lead gen assets, as well as my primary method of communication with my clients is via video email. That's how I do it. It's a great, great system. You can buy it for $200, or you get it free if you buy Local Lease Pro, while these bonuses are still available. Plus, you get one done for you GMB verification, $150 to $200 value, depending on your niche and the size of the city. But that is a very real product that you will need through this process, and you'll get one of those included so that you can get started with Local Lease Pro. All right. And lastly, there is an additional bonus that I will announce for people that purchase today. It has to be before midnight tonight, but I will only announce that after we've ended the broadcast and it's not publicly available. So those of you that are on the fence, trust me, the bonus that I'm going to add to the end here is huge. All right. We're moving on. This is the last part of the webinar, guys, and then we'll get to questions. Off-page optimization. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this because some of this will be added as supplemental training in the members area. But GMB posts, we just talked extensively about the auto poster. There's a reason why we do that, guys. Activity. There was a question on Hump Day Hangouts last week. Somebody said, what is the number one thing you can do right now to get results from a Google Maps profile? And Marco and I both had the same answer unanimously. I think we almost said it at the same time. Activity. Activity is the number one ranking factor, or the number one results factor for GMB listings right now is activity. Consistent activity. Okay, so the GMB auto poster is incredibly powerful for that because it automates everything, guys. And again, you can train a VA to do all that process. Well, I don't know if Local Lease Pro has the training, but we've developed processes that will teach a VA how to do all of that. You can too. Okay, so GMB post often and consistently. That's going to help you to get results. Guys, it's not about 3-pack rankings. We're all SEOs, or most of us are. So we're used to looking at rankings as the metric to determine whether, that quantifies whether we're doing good or not, right? Whether we're getting results. But that's not the case. You don't have to be in the 3-pack to get leads from GMB. We've proven that with local GMB Pro. Same thing occurs with local Lease Pro. Although, again, I know we all like to see stuff in the 3-pack. So that's why, again, I'm trying to always get into the 3-pack. But you can generate leads from just activity posting alone. Okay. And so posting is incredibly important. Post often and post consistently. Again, your industry may be different. For my industries, 1 post per day, Monday through Friday, 31 days, 30 or 31 days a month is typically enough for it to generate results. It might be different for your industry. Q&A posts. I want to go over this very quickly because we're almost at the 2-hour mark, and I know we still got questions. But Q&A posts, I actually covered this in detail in the Syndication Academy update webinar last week. I will add some additional training about this in the members area, but very, very quickly, let's roll through. This is an example I used last week. But something is like, when should tree removal be done? Something like that. Q&A post, guys. Let Google help you come up with content ideas for posting. And also, if you can find out what frequently asked questions are, which is what I'm going to show you right here, how to find frequently asked questions about the products or services for the industry that you're generating leads for or you're providing digital marketing services for. Just think as a consumer that would be interested or potentially interested in the products and or services that you're generating leads for or that you're providing marketing services for, right? Think from the consumers, try to put yourself in their shoes, and then think like what would be some of the questions that they may ask about that product or that service, or what type of questions would they ask that would lead them to that product and service. Does that make sense? And then just go to Google, guys, use Google, and it will tell you the questions and then give you the best response, what Google has determined is the best response. And you can use that, guys. It's just like curating content for a blog. You can use that information for post ideas, and you're answering questions using other people's content. You still give attribution. You want to cite the source, so link back to the original content, all of that. But you can give answers to questions that are commonly asked. So now you're feeding directly back to Google what it wants. And so if somebody is in an area next to, close in proximity to one of your GMB assets that asks a similar question, guess what's going to get served to them in the search results? Your GMB post that has that question and answer. So my point is, it's very, very powerful. So take a look at this. When should tree removal be done, guys? You see where it says people also ask? Do I need a permit to cut down a tree on my property? How much does it cost to have a tree taken down? That's a good one. So if I click on that, and then I can click on this to open it up, there's the question, and here's the answer, right? Here's the answer from treeremoval.com. The average cost to remove a tree ranges from $150 to $1,500, but whatever, who cares? My point is now, guys, now I have a GMB post idea. Post idea? So let me do this. Let me do this because I want to demonstrate this. Oh, the GMB post. I wonder if I let's do this. I'm going to do this from one of my, this is Browsio, guys, in case you're unaware of what I'm doing right now. I'm going to actually create a post in GMB. I should actually log into the auto poster, but I'm not going to do that right now. So I'm just going to actually do a physical or a manual post from inside the GMB dashboard. But I want you guys to see how easy it is to create a Q&A post. Super easy. Now, typically, like I said, I'd be doing this through the auto poster, but I'm not logged into that right now, and I'm not going to log in. So let's just do a manual post. This is one of my locations for tree services. So here we are in post. And what I'm going to do is, and you know what, I don't have an optimized image. Well, I might with geodata and all that, but typically I would have all that ready. So what I'm going to do is go grab an image real quick. Let me see if I can find one. Stand by for a minute. Boo. Yeah, I do. I got images right. Ah, shit. Well, hold on. Nothing. Son of a bitch. All right, let me just find a generic image, guys. Stand by. That's fine. We'll take that one. Usually I have a my VA's, that's in my VA's folder. That's why I didn't have it. Anyways, usually I have a folder with all of the images geotagged already for a specific location. So I would just select one image from there. Okay, so there's my image. Now for Write My Post, like I said, how do we do this? Very simply. How much does tree removal cost? I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to paste it in. Okay. Then I'm going to say according to, and what is this? treeremoval.com. And I'm going to put a quote. Let's see here. Well, for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to grab that for now. Now, typically I would spend a minute to scan through here and find one or two paragraphs that would answer that question somewhat, right? That's all I need. If I can get a really good answer, then I'll add that. But if I can just find enough information to, to kind of somewhat answer the question, then that's all we need. And so in this case, again, just because I don't want to spend too much time, we're running out of time anyways, I'm just going to paste that in right there. And then from there, I'm going to put the attribution link. So I just put a little tilde or whatever you call that thing. And then I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to grab that URL. I'm going to paste that in. And then I'm going to have my call to action. Call us today to schedule a free tree removal estimate. Then I would put, in this case, Mustang Tree Pros, Mustang, okay. Plus I'd put the zip code, which I don't have that offhand, but I put the zip code there. Then I put the phone number in, and then I would put the GMB website because that's the NAP, right? I don't have a self-hosted website. I'm not using self-hosted websites for lead gen assets. I just use the GMB website, right? And so the GMB website should be, I believe that is HTTPS Mustang, okay, .business.site. Okay, and I'd have the phone number there too. And then I would also collect that URL and put that as a button. I'm just going to use the Learn More button. Paste that in. Then I'm going to click Publish. And now it says posted just now. And there's the actual image. And now if we want to go take a look at that post, let me copy that. And sometimes it takes a few seconds for it to actually publish. Let's see. Nope, there it is. It's 13 seconds ago. Mustang Tree Pros. How much does tree removal cost? Guys, there's my keywords, right? According to treeremoval.com, there's the answer. There's the attribution link. There's my call to action. I would have my phone number there too, and zip code, obviously. And then there's my link, and there's the link that also links to back to the business site as well. You guys get that? And that must have been the wrong. Yeah, it's okay. It doesn't matter. I'll go back and edit that. I just put in the wrong web address. But you guys get the point. So Q&A posts, guys, they work really, really good. And it's just a great way to get additional content for post ideas. And remember, you're answering questions that are often asked. If they weren't often asked, they wouldn't be in the people also asked section in the Google search results. So if you can use those questions, they're commonly asked questions for those products and services in your industry, then Google is going to serve that content to people that are asking those questions that are in close proximity to your business. Does that make sense? And then silo post together, guys. Again, I don't have time to show you that in the auto poster right now, but you silo based on tags. So for example, if I had put a tag on that post within the auto poster, it gives you a field where you can add tags. I would have put like tree removal. And in every post that I would create from that point forward that had tree removal, that was optimized for tree removal, I would add that tree removal tag, and then I would select to silo post, which means it would take the previous post URL that had the tag tree removal and add that as a silo post, a link within this new post. So if that makes sense, you can start siloing those together. And that's how you can create silos out of your GMB website, because your GMB website turns posts into inner pages. So those of you that, again, I'm not building WordPress sites for these lead gen assets, guys. I'm just using the GMB website because it's free. It doesn't give you a lot of options for manipulating the SEO elements of the website, but you can silo using the auto poster, and because the posts turn into internal pages of the website. All right. All right, press releases, guys. Damn, we're at 2 hours. I didn't mean for it to go this long. Press releases, create organization page, a media room. It's really, really powerful, super powerful. We as MGYB.co, we have press releases there. It's through the Press Advantage distribution network. Incredibly powerful. I love Press Advantage. It is an integral part to my business. We can provide you with Press Advantage PRs from MGYB. And when you go to order a press release, you create an organization page. Which an organization page it's called a media room for that business. And it's super, super powerful because the Press Advantage domain has got good metrics. But you get a do follow link from your organization page, the NAP. You get to embed the GMB map. You get to embed the website if it's HTTPS and any other social media properties like Facebook page, for example, if you have it. For my GMB assets, I don't have it. But I'll show you an example here, but super, super powerful, guys. And it's absolutely a critical or integral part of my processes is Press Advantage. And again, whether you have a subscription to Press Advantage or not, it doesn't matter because you can buy press releases from us at MGYB and you can still get the benefits of the organization pages and everything else. Okay. So again, you can buy them from us if you need to. And I'll drop the link to that here in just a second, along with this example media room, and then I'm going to show you the media room. And I know we're way over, and I'm sorry. I'm going to try to speed this up. All right, so this is the example media room for Mustang Tree Pros, the one we were just looking at. By the way, Mustang Tree Pros was one of the first. I had only secured 2 locations for Oklahoma City. Okay. That was before I decided to start securing multiple locations for a metro area. I only selected 2, and that was, I think it was back in, well, let's see, October. Yeah, Press Advantage. There's the Press Advantage PR for tree service in Mustang, Oklahoma launched. You see that? That's from Press Advantage, and that was on October 2018. So you can see this is a couple months old, and I'm in the 3-pack, guys. See that? It's awesome. And there's the business site, mustangtreepros.business.site. Oh, you know what I did? I was when I put the web address in the Google post, I was thinking of something else. That's why. Anyways, there's the actual business site right there. There's the Press Advantage. There I am in the Maps pack. Isn't that awesome? And here's the Press Advantage media room. And this is only with one press release, guys. I didn't even have to stack this one. My point is, I talk about press releases is, again, not just the organization page, but the press release publishing itself that is my primary link building method now, guys. We have Dedio, who's an amazing link building guy. He runs all the tools. He's fabulous. But I'm not even using his services, not because they're not valuable. It's just because I'm doing all the link building I have or I need through press releases. All right. And so this is what a Press Advantage press room looks like, or media room looks like. Okay, for Mustang Tree Pros, it's got the NAP. This is a do follow link. It's got the GMB map embed. Which, guys, if you've been following Semantic Mastery, you know iframes act as do follow links. This is the Mustang Tree Pros GMB website. Iframed in here. See that? Super powerful. Not only that, but every press release that I publish will be listed on here, which we can, if we build links to this page, we can funnel juice to each separate individual press release. Now, the individual press releases, if you take a look at these, the links within the press releases are no follow, but the link on the sidebar over here with the NAP, that's still do follow. And in fact, if I show this to you in Chrome, because I've got a plugin that will show no follow links, you'll see what I'm talking about. So you'll see that the links down here have the strike through, right? So that means they're no follow links. Doesn't matter because we've got a do follow link over here. These are incredibly, I mean, look at the content from Press Advantage. They're 750 to 800 words, which most press releases are 300 to 400 words, guys. It's a fabulous service. Again, you can get it from MGYB. So that's all I wanted to point out was how powerful these are. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with these. We go back to the slides. I talk about publishing a PR to announce the new location, guys. Standard operating procedure. Part of the process is my VAs do all this for me now. Is once the asset has been optimized, the new asset's been optimized, and the first post has been published, then the next thing they do is go create the Press Advantage organization page and then order the first press release to be written and then published. That's standard operating procedure. And then if they need it most of the time, if you do your location research right, guys, within 30 days, if you've got your posts scheduled out, like I just mentioned, 1 per day, your industry may be different, but for my industries, within 30 days, if I've got my posts scheduled the way I'm supposed to, and I've published at least 1 press release, typically I'm in the 3-pack or damn near it, like within the top 5. Okay. And then if I need an additional push, that's when the PR stacking comes into place. PR stacking, we've got a training course that talks specifically how to do that. It's all about ranking in the maps pack using press release. It's called Local PR Pro. And so I talk a little bit about some of those methods when I talk about PR stacking. And that's what this was, Stack PR, linked to the GMB post, the media room, and the ad ID page. Ad ID page, we'll talk about that, very limited here in just a moment. But that's, again, standard operating procedure, guys, is to publish a press release to announce the new location. In the press release, I link to the GMB website, the Google Maps share URL, and the first Google My Business post. If we go back and take a look at this one, take a look. Right there's the Google post. There's the Google Business site, the GMB website. There's the Google Maps share URL. Like I said, standard operating procedure. Those are the 3 links that always go in the first press release. The next press release, if we need to, if we have to stack, which we didn't in Mustang Tree Pros, and by the way, if I wanted, where was it? Okay, if I want to push this one up a little bit higher, and by the way, this something else is I don't have posts scheduled out. My VAs are working on the not my assets right now. They're working on the contractor media assets, which are in different industries. So this never got scheduled out. So I'm ranking the 3-pack here without the posts being published daily and with only 1 press release, if that makes sense. So if I wanted to push this up a little bit higher, I just need to schedule out the posts, and I need to also publish another press release, and I bet you I push up higher. Okay? So critically important, guys. All right, we're going to move on. The last part of this, guys, local iframe loop, our secret sauce. This was covered in Syndication Academy in February. So it's, and then we've talked about it in Mastermind a lot. It's also been covered in RYS Academy and Local GMB Pro. But it's also a part of our process now for these GMB assets. It's applying what we call, or what I call, the local iframe loop. And that's using what's called an ad ID page with schema markup and using JSON LD structured data, local business markup on that ad ID page. I'm using an HTML file. I can't give that to you guys here. First of all, this is a public webinar, at least briefly. So I'm not going to give that out here. I'm not going to give the actual method here either, except that it's creating, it was called an ad ID page, which is incredibly powerful, and it uses these elements: a Google site, the Press Advantage media room. Again, it's critical, guys, absolutely part of the process. Pearl trees, and in the ad ID HTML page itself. All of those combined, and what I call closing the loop, makes really, really powerful. It's one of the only off-page things that we have to do besides the GMB post, which really is an on-page thing, and the press releases. It's pretty much the only off-page thing we have to do is create this local iframe loop and then close the loop. And again, it's training that I've developed for my VAs. It's not in the Local Lease Pro training yet. I will give you guys a rundown of how to do it in the training. It will be updated. Okay. You're not going to get all my process docs and all that. That's for Mastermind members only. I apologize, but that's for Mastermind members only, but I will give you the concept and the training so that you can go out and set it up yourself. Okay. All right. So Local Lease Pro offer, and then we'll get into questions, guys. Over 55 training videos. There will be more than that now because I've got to add some. Entire business in a box, guys. That's why I love this Local Lease Pro. This is our front end product now, guys, for a specific reason. You can literally get started with this process and do nothing else and start making money. And then you can start funding all of your other projects with revenue generated from your business, from leasing assets out to local businesses while this opportunity is available. We shows how to do this manually, which is low cost but high time, or with fulfillment providers, which is us, which is low time but obviously an expense, right? Same business model I got started with and I've reverted back to. I said that before. I got started with lead gen properties and lead gen assets, and then from there I was able to launch my agency once I had a customer base or a base of service providers and all that. And I had properties that I could use as examples, a portfolio to show potential clients. All of that helped me to build my business. It all started for just lead gen assets, guys. And I love this model. It's simple and it works. it puts you in a position of power, the position of fuck you, as we call it, right? Because when you have the assets that's already producing leads, and that's what the business owner needs is leads, that puts you in a much higher negotiating, a place for negotiating, right? You've got much more power in a negotiation when you have the asset that they need that's already producing. All right, so get the full training there. Use that code holiday update 300. It's a coupon. You'll get $300 off, and then you'll get all these bonuses for the next 24 hours. 15-minute quick start session with me, video lead gen system, so that you can start securing service providers and or clients. You'll get one done for you GMB verification, so that once you've applied this location research, you can go out and get your first asset set up on us. And you get it all there, okay? And then lastly, there's one additional bonus, which I'm going to cover here in just a minute. For those of you that bought today, you'll get it. If you need to go, that's fine. If you buy later today, that's fine. As long as it's on today's date, which is 12/17 before 11:59 or midnight tonight, you'll get the additional bonus, which I will talk about once I go off broadcast. All right? All right, so we're going to run through some questions, and then we're going to wrap it up, guys. I'm sorry for the length again, but it is what it is.
You got a ton of questions.
Yeah, I see that. Let's roll through them because I'm way late. All right, Josh Anthony says, I have a few questions in Local Lease Pro. How to specifically snipe near me keywords per location? Won't those people that already rank for tree service just get ranked in the 3-pack for tree service near me too? No, not necessarily. And again, Josh, go run the Easy Local Cache software and test that theory. Okay, go test tree service at a particular. Go search that using tree service only, right? With a specific geo coordinate, and then take a screenshot of the results once it's done, and then use that same geo coordinate, but change the keyword to tree service near me, and then take a screenshot of the results and compare the two. And then you tell me. And so the answer is yes, there's a hell of a lot more opportunity when you target near me keywords. Okay, at least that's what I found. It may not, it's going to vary by industry, guys, but in the industries that I've been working on, the near me keywords are what I'm using to target to do all of my location research. And those are usually the keywords that I start with. So when we go to publish a GMB post as the first post, which is part of the process for optimizing the profile, we always publish one post manually from the GMB dashboard before we set up the auto poster. And the first post that we're targeting is a near me keyword, because that's what we're trying to attempt to get traction with initially, is the near me keywords. And then I have near me templates and what I call to action GMB post templates in my VA, and now the Q&A stuff. So my VAs go through and schedule out a near me post today. The next day will be a call to action post. The following day will be a Q&A post. The next day will be a near me post. You see what I'm saying? You just cycle through. So throughout the week, no, Rob, just the, well, yeah, I see Rob complaining. The local, it's part of the process, dude. I can't keep that back. Anyways, so essentially for every 7-day period, they're getting 3 different post types, right? A near me post, a call to action post, and a Q&A post, right? They get 2 of those in a 7-day period each. Does that make sense? All right. So how is a logo and same name brand Tree Pros not leaving a footprint for Google to potentially cancel all GMB listings at once nationwide? Because, Josh, if you remember what I said in the training, in the Local Lease Pro training, I talk about once I have secured a service provider and established a good relationship with them. What is a good relationship? How do you define that? Well, if they've paid me on time without any shit for at least 2 or 3 months, right? If they pay me on time and they don't give me any shit, then that's a good service provider. And so once I've established a good relationship with them, based upon what I just mentioned, then I will rebrand those assets. I will either rebrand for them, in other words, put their logo on it and change the name. I still keep my tracking number, or I will change the photos and images, like the profile image, keep the name the same, which is my name, the Home Tree Pros or whatever, but then change some of the other, like the logo and things like that, so that it's branded for them, even though the name is still my name, if that makes sense. So again, guys, I highly recommend that once you have developed a relationship with the service provider, that's when you go in and rebrand those assets. You don't change the phone number ever. You keep the phone number through your tracking phone number. You don't ever change it to direct to the customer or the service provider's phone number. Okay, but you can change the name, but only do it after you've established a relationship. Why? Because if you go in and you start changing the name of a GMB asset over and over again because you keep going through service providers, then you'll end up losing that asset. It'll require re-verification. But if you just change it once, guys, I've done it dozens of times, and I'm not going to tell you that you won't occasionally have one that triggers a re-verification, but I've done it dozens of times and haven't had any issues. Okay. Number 3, a 60-day guarantee on your address verification service. What are these addresses to? I Google map the location you use in your course and it shows dirt road on the map. It goes to nothing. What happens if Google catches that? Well, what happens if we get hit by a meteor tomorrow? Like, I'm not going to what if, guys. That's a question, Josh, and I'm not trying to be a dick to you. I mean it. But there's too many what ifs. If you what if yourself, you'll never get started. Okay? Don't worry about it, man. That's the whole reason why we're building these out in volume. Because are we going to lose some assets along the way? Sure. But who cares? If you got 100 assets and you lose 20 of them, you got 80 of them producing revenue still. So does that make sense?
The addresses don't really matter because we're hiding them anyway.
That's right.
We're not displaying addresses. We're service areas. Well, no longer service areas, but zip code areas, right?
That's
so
right.
Where the address is, you're hiding it anyway, getting rid of it.
And that's true. Once you add the address to verify the profile, which is what we do on our end, and then once the profile is verified, if it's a service area business, which is what this method is for, then you go in and clear the address from the listing and nobody's going to see it. Yeah, Google has it on the back end, sure. But if you got the profile verified, it's unlikely that it's going to get suspended for that reason, because it was able to be verified, if that makes sense. So again, don't worry about stuff like that, guys. Just go out and build assets, build more assets. If you lose 1 or 2 along the way, so be it. That's part of the process. Okay, number 4. Go ahead.
Yeah, people have to understand this is 100% manipulation, guys. We're manipulating everything. So I mean, you can't go, well, look, we're doing this, we're doing that. Yeah, fuck yeah, we're doing it, but we're trying to get away with it by hiding in plain sight.
That's it.
That's the whole point. We try to hide, drop it, and go on to the next one. And if it happens to get hit because it's a piece of dirt, then you go get another one. That's why we give you 60 days. If for some reason Google says no, this shit isn't any good, then we give you that window so that you can come back and say, I need another one. But if you get past that 60 days, it's really hard to lose something unless you do something really stupid.
Number 4, will changing the NAP or phone number to your already ranked GMB listing harm the ranking? For example, the biz wants to lease your ranked GMB listing, but only if they can have their name and logo appear in the maps pack. Well, name and logo, yeah, that's, again, I just mentioned that. You can change the name and the logo. I don't recommend, like, that's why I said make sure you've established a good working relationship first, because you don't want to change the name and the logo, the profile image, and then, a month later you have to change it again because you got a service provider that's not paying you, or that they're just, they're a dick or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So my point is, make sure that you have an established relationship first. Then you can change the profile logo and the name. Don't change the phone number, though. For God's sakes, don't change the phone number, guys. You'll lose control of that asset if you change the phone number to your service provider's phone number. Don't do it. Leave your own tracking number in place that will forward to their phone. Okay? But that way you maintain control of that asset and any lead that comes through that asset, period. End of story. You need to maintain control, guys, or else you won't have a business. Okay? Thanks, Josh. You're welcome. He says, P.S. Can I send? No, never mind. Jason says, what are your experiences using Twilio verified numbers for GMB listings? I don't have any experience, Jason. I'm sorry. As far as the actual phone numbers I use in the listings, I use CallRail now. I love CallRail. I wish to God I would have used. I mean, I'm so entangled with CallFire for my existing lead gen business. I will never completely untangle from them. However, all of the assets that I'm building at scale now, I'm doing using CallRail. I love CallRail. It's fabulous and it's inexpensive. It's a lot cheaper than buying individual numbers from CallFire. That's for sure. And it gives you a lot of additional features. If that's what you're talking about, forwarding numbers, that's what I use. If you're talking about verifying GMB listings, I don't know. I don't do it. I hire our own service to do it. And to be honest with you, I'm not even sure how we're doing it. I don't care. I just want the GMB verified, and that's what our service does. I don't care how they do it. I just want the result, and I get that. So I'm not trying to short your question, Jason. I'm just letting you know CallRail is what I'm using for my phone numbers for tracking numbers in the GMB assets. As far as verifying Google accounts and stuff like that, I'm not sure because I don't do it. I'll let somebody else do that. Sweet. What's up, John? What's up, guys? Tom, a lot of familiar names here. BJ. Stop him, Marco. Thanks, BJ. Kenny, where there'll be more ninja style updates inside the training. Yeah, Kenny. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I'm gonna add, like, Rob was just freaking out in Slack, the local iframe loop stuff. I can't not share that with you guys. As much as I know my partners don't want me to, it's part of the process, and it wouldn't be fair for me to keep that from you guys. I have to share that. So, but it's going to be inside the training. That's why I didn't cover that on the public webinar live, guys. There was a reason for that. Okay. Do we get this as a mastermind member? Yes, Rick. You absolutely do. Absolutely do. Let's see. Are any of the bonuses available to existing customers? Chris Wright. Chris, you pretty much have access to, I mean, you know, the if you're a member, well, if you're an existing member, I see what you're saying. Probably not, because if you're an existing member, it means you're either in the mastermind and you have access to everything already, or you bought it for $50 when it was part of the Side Hustle Toolbox launch. And unfortunately, like, guys, this is way too powerful of a system to be, you know, what we're selling it for is a reason for that. It's totally worth it. You're going to make your money 10 times over as long as you follow the process. So unfortunately, no, Chris. If you'd like, yeah, no, unfortunately, no, because you got it at such an inexpensive price. Dan says, if I had 3 of 10 GMB suspended that were under the same manager account, or I had, he said, 2 of them are now back and active again. Wow, surprised me. Would you still look to manage them with a different account because they had once been suspended? Well, I don't know, Dan. I lost, like I said, 7 locations in Atlanta because I had them all tied through what was called a location group, which I highly recommend nobody ever use. I feel like it was a trap. And I was testing. I mean, I knew going into it that there was a chance I was going to lose those assets, and sure enough, I didn't disappoint. I lost those assets. And in that case, I spent about 10 minutes trying to regain access to one of the locations, and then I gave up and said, time to move on. Honestly, I'm not going to, if one of our members finds a simple and repeatable process for regaining access to previously suspended GMBs, then I will obviously incorporate that into our processes. But for right now, I've got so many assets in queue for development, and that it's honestly, I just move on. If something gets terminated, who cares? Just move on. Because when one gets terminated, there's 10 more in queue to replace it. Does that make sense?
Hey, Dan, if 9 out of 10 are okay, just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Don't change anything. Just go and make money.
Very good. Martin says, what tool should be used to create anonymous Google YouTube accounts to avoid footprints? I don't know, Martin, because I don't use any tools to create accounts. I feel like any tool that creates accounts, typically those accounts get terminated or suspended. So I buy the accounts. And in fact, we're having trouble right now finding a good provider for phone verified Google accounts. But you know, if you buy GMB verifications from us, you'll get, like, we handle all that stuff. It's done. So you don't have to worry about it. But as far as if you're going to go out and create all your own stuff, then just go find a good phone verified Google account provider. I can't even recommend one right now because we're having trouble with them. So honestly, just go find one and buy them. I do not recommend using software to create accounts.
Yeah, in fact, let me put this out right now. If you guys know of a good provider, let us know.
That's right. Yep. Dan, do current local Lease Pro folks get the done for you GMB? No, sir. I'm sorry, but remember what you bought local Lease Pro for. There's no way we'd be losing money for everyone that every GMB that we gave out if that was the case. There's no way we can do that. So sorry, Dan. But remember, you got it for a damn steal, man. What more do you want, Dan? Brad, I'm sorry. Eddie says, hopefully I'm not too late to the party. No, there will be a replay. I have a file that has the population, number of households, area codes, lat long data, and a couple more things. I will reach out to you after the webinar. Thank you, Eddie. That'd be awesome. Please do. Feel free to PM me. I would be happy to take a look at that. David says, did you ever look at the neighborhood city CSV file I sent you? No, David. Unfortunately, I did not. I know you did send it to me, but I'm sorry I have not looked at that. I probably should, and I apologize. Let's see. If you have access to BuzzFile, business directory, it gives you demographics about the business and the zip code it is in. This means you can get zip-based info for average income, etc. Ooh, that's pretty cool. BuzzFile. If you have access to BuzzFile, make a note of that. I'm going to take, in fact, I'm going to write that on my whiteboard. Sorry, hold on, guys. All right, yeah, I'll check that out, David. Thank you. Ted says, if I have GMB verified in zip code A, but want to service another zip code, I'll call it zip code B. Will that affect my ability to rank in zip code B? Cheers and thank you. No, well, it can, but what I remember, here's the thing, Ted, because of the way that Google is serving results now for searches with local intent, especially for mobile devices, that's why we're targeting on just a zip code basis now, because that's like what we're finding is the easiest way to gain traction is to be located, physically located in the zip code where somebody is searching. And that's how you get that proximity. You know, you're close in proximity, and that's why you get served in the results, if that makes sense. So yeah, you can target a wider service area, but what I'm finding, and again, through just the Easy Local Cache software results, what the screenshots I was showing you today, what happens is if you optimize for a zip code that you're not physically located in, then yeah, if your profile, your GMB asset is more relevant than even one that's located in the zip code from where somebody is searching, then Google API could pull yours in. But what I'm saying is I would rather have 2 different assets at that point, uber optimized for each specific location, so that I have the opportunity for either one of those to show for that searcher, if that makes sense. Yeah, you can have a larger service area, but just remember, Google is going to give your listing more exposure in the actual area that it's physically located in, and less exposure in the other areas, if that makes sense, especially if it's competitive, right? If it's competitive, then it's going to be a lot harder to get your GMB asset to appear in location B, because you've got competitors that are well optimized that are physically located there. But again, remember, do your location research. If you find that both locations A and B are wide open and there's a lot of opportunity, meaning very little competition, then you may just want to create one asset and optimize for both locations and see what happens. Test. Okay. Rick Pierce, as a member, as a mastermind member, how can I access LLP? Rick, contact support. That's correct. And we will get you sorted. Awesome. Let's see. David says, how are you making an assessment of the value of the zip? Population may be high, but the average house value may be nil, ergo no-go is a target. Well, that depends, David. I mean, again, I'm not getting that far into the data at this point to determine, like, I don't care if the population says 35,000 and I'm targeting tree services or general contracting or home remodeling. If there's 35,000 people living in that area, there's going to be some people that are going to need the service, right? I'm not really worried, because remember, if I was just targeting one GMB asset for an entire city metro area, then I would really want to make sure that that one asset was placed in the best location possible to provide the most leads and the highest quality leads. But if I'm going to create 10 or 12 or 15, secure 10 or 12 or 15 assets in a metro area, do I really care if it's in, like, if I hand select, like, with all that data that you're talking about, specific zip codes or not? No, what I'm looking for is more equal coverage across the entire service area. So that's all I'm doing, right? And so for me, it's easier and quicker to just look at the population data and base my selection upon which has more reach than really get into those numbers. If that's something you're interested in, David, if you want to spend that extra time adding all of those additional layers of data to your research, that's perfectly fine. For me, I'd rather add more locations to my location cluster and move on to the next city than to spend all that time researching, if that makes sense.
I would go through the trouble if I were dealing like in a luxury niche,
sure,
or in something that's very high end. But if it's something that's just a need, tree fell on your garage, you need to get that fucker moved. So you're gonna call a tree service guy, then you're gonna need someone to repair the garage, right? So there's an absolute need, emergency, whatever. I think that it's 2 different things. But absolutely, you need the information if you're going something after something that's really, really like high end.
Yeah,
I think the extra money that you can make calls for doing extra research.
I agree with that. And so again, it's going to depend on industry. Like, what are you marketing and that kind of stuff? Guys, remember, I'm telling you the process that I use. There is obviously going to be some changes to the processes depending on whatever specific industry you're in, that kind of stuff. Okay. So you're going to have to modify the processes and add to the processes or take away from the processes whatever's going to fit your business. Carl says, okay, if local listing zip code is a major point, how is the classic get an address method going to work? The zip codes you get with them are always special. Should you just verify with local other zip code and hope you receive it? I'm not sure I understand what the question is here. Classic get an address method going to work. I don't understand what that means, Carl.
I think he's talking about post office, because you're going to be tied to that post office, wherever that post office is.
Mm-hmm.
And so the zip code that you want may be something different.
No, okay. So if you, and I think there was another one that was talking about, somebody else mentioned that right here, Carl. Sorry to bother, to better clarify, the PO boxes, that's him again. The PO boxes all have special zip code. Should you just verify? No, okay, but Carl, you're missing the point. When you go get a PO box at a post office and you use the street address option, you're using the physical zip code of the building of the of the post office, which is not a unique zip code. Does that make sense? Because it's a physical building. Like, for example, if it's 123 Main Street, Culpeper, Virginia 22701, which is that's the actual zip code for Culpeper, Virginia. Okay. If you were to have a PO box in the Culpeper post office, it might be, and I don't know what that zip code is, but let's just say it's 22702, right? Then you're right. If I was to list in my to try to secure a GMB profile and say PO box number 1, Culpeper, Virginia 22702, that's a special or a unique or a PO box zip code with 0 population. That wouldn't work. But then again, Google won't allow you to put a PO box as the address. But if the street address of the post office is 123 Main Street, Culpeper, Virginia 22701, which is a real zip code with real population, then, and my box number is 1, then my address for my GMB listing is going to be 123 Main Street, number 1, Culpeper, Virginia 22701. So I'm using the real zip code, not the unique or zip code, post office zip code. Does that make sense? So again, guys, if you're using the street address option, you will be using the zip code of the street address of the post office, okay, which will always be, even if the post office tries to give you a PO box zip code, just go to Google, search for the post office, the physical location of the post office, and take that zip code, which is going to be the actual zip code for that area with population, if that makes sense. Okay. And again, that's all done. It's free, guys. It's not free to get a PO box, but it's free to use the street address option. You just have to publish or fill out an additional form. Okay. And by the way, some post offices still don't know that you can do that, and you have to educate them, which sucks. When you go walk in with a form that they've never seen, and you have to say, like, yeah, you guys do accept this. It sucks, but I've done it. So why wouldn't you, David, why wouldn't you pick the highest average income zip code area for remodeling contractors? Again, David, because I'm securing multiple locations within a metro area. I don't care. It's likely that among all the assets that I'm securing, that I'm going to be covering both high income and low income areas, and I don't care. A phone call is a phone call, a lead's a lead. Okay. You're more than welcome to add as much data into your research process as you want, David. Like Marco said, there are certain industries where you'd want, and I'm not picking on you, man. I'm just telling you, for me, it's more about building in volume with a bunch of assets in an area, and I don't care. I'm not going to that level yet. Maybe at a later date I will.
Yeah, that's not how I'm doing it either. I mean, I don't care. Highest average income. I don't do any of that. I just look at highest number of people, whether I can get in, and if I can get in, I'm in. And it just starts getting phone calls, which is the point behind all this, David. Again, not picking on you, but since you're bringing it up, the point behind all this is to hit hard, hit quick, make money, lather, rinse, repeat. If you start getting too anal into it, if you start going too deep into it, then you're going to start clogging it up because you need to do all of the extra research, unless you have it all on call and you can do it automatically and you can order and everything else that takes place. But right now, all we're doing, we want massive pins all over the place, generate as many phone calls as possible, lease lease it, sell the phone calls, do it however it is that you're going to do it, and then move on. And then you move on. You hit one right after the other. And all of a sudden, before you know it, you're making a ton of money, and you're not spending a whole lot of time analyzing, which is what we try to avoid as SEOs anyway, because if we start analyzing, we start paralyzing whatever it is that we're doing, and we just look at shit and don't do anything.
That's it. Like I mean, again, speed is a critical thing for me right now, right? I'm trying to get more as many assets up and optimized as possible. I don't want to slow down or clog up my process with too much analysis, and that's the whole point. So again, David, again, you're welcome to spend as much time on research as you want, and while you're doing that, I'm going to be building dozens of GMB assets. You know what I mean? That's my point. Like I'd rather just get more assets built. So. Paul says, why not have the GMBs overlap on each other to dominate the map pack on each zip code or city? Well, you can, but the problem is you don't want it's difficult to get assets, especially with the same name. We know because we're doing the verifications. It's kind of hard to get them when they're uber close to, like adjacent, like next to each other, where, like, for example, some of the examples I showed you today with where there's zip codes that were only 3 miles apart. That's way too close. There's really no, and that's overkill too. I mean, think about it, Paul. If you're paying, I know, Paul, you're not paying the full retail price because we, you know, as a POFU Live attendee, there's a little bit of a discount on the GMB verifications. But could you imagine, like, for example, I just showed with just Rochester alone, there was what, 23 zip codes? And that wasn't even including, like, that was just all the zip codes that have Rochester as the city name. There was like 23 zip codes, right? So could you imagine trying to get 23 GMB assets? And it's unnecessary, because if you can cover a 5 mile radius, which is still very tight service area targeting, then you know, my point is you could end up actually still ranking in, you know, adjacent zip codes because you've got a well optimized profile. So it's really no need to have one in every single zip code. That's why I'm trying to spread them out the way that I do. Okay. Again, by the way, Paul, you're free to test whatever method you want, guys. I'm sharing you exactly what I'm doing, but that does not mean you can't try to secure assets in every single zip code. By all means, do it if you want. I'm just telling you the way I'm doing it and the reason why I'm doing it that way. But that, you know, my way is not the be all end all way, guys. There's more ways to skin a cat. You know what I mean? So you're free to test that, Paul. Okay.
So one of the things that I do, just, you know, Paul, I look at when I'm looking at the competition, when I'm using the ELC software, I look into which, like, zip codes bleed into each other, because you'll see business pattern. You'll see Google, the patterns start to appear. Well, they'll display across multiple zip codes, right? And so if you use that information and you optimize one, I create zip code clusters for that. When I start seeing the same business across different zip codes, and you'll see it. You'll see 3, 4, 5, sometimes across, you know, 3, 4, or 5 zip codes. That's how I do it. Then I say, okay, boom, I'm in here because I can compete with these people if they're bleeding into all of the different zip codes. So yeah, you can do it, but you don't necessarily need your GMBs to overlap. You just need to target correctly.
That's right. Okay. David was answering something Paul said. Scott says, after watching the location research training, do you need a separate GMB location for each zip code in a city that meets the guidelines? Well, Scott, as I just mentioned, you know, again, figure out what all your viable sections or zip codes are, and then try to spread them out to where you have equal coverage that covers as much of the service area radius as possible. That's it. Again, you don't have to get one for every zip code. I am not trying to get one for every zip code, just as I just explained to Paul. So my point is, just go back through what I was just talking about, and I try to spread them out. You're free to test. If you want to try to go more aggressive, feel free to do so. I'm just telling you the reason why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it is because if I can cover an entire metro area with only 10 locations, I'm gonna buy only 10 locations. If it takes 15, I'll buy 15. But I'm not going to buy 15 just because there's 15 viable locations when I could cover the entire service radius with 10 locations, because that's 5 additional locations that I don't need. Right? Again, guys, I'm trying to get results with the least amount of effort, and with a repeatable process that we can scale. So, you know, again, I think it's overkill. It might be overkill to have 10 in a service area radius. I don't know. We're still developing. We're still testing. Right? This is not law right now. Everything is still evolving. It's very fluid at the moment. But that's why I had this update webinar, because a lot's changed since, you know, 6 weeks ago or whatever when we launched the course. Okay. Jim, after the broadcast is over, an offer will be made. No, it's just not an offer will be made. A bonus will be announced to anybody that purchases today. and it has to be today before midnight. There will be an additional bonus that wasn't on one of the slides. I'll talk about that in just a minute because we're going to shut this down. I am way over what I wanted to be, guys. Sean says, I'm a little behind on the live video. In my maps, there is a ruler tool below the search bar for measuring distances. Yeah, but I'm not going to get out a ruler and like measure my screen and all that. And so thanks, Sean, but that's cool. I appreciate it. Using driving directions is very simple for me to get the numbers that I need. So thank you, though. Scott says, I highly recommend hiring MGYB to create your Google verified account. I use this service and it's working great. I now have a client who could not get his business listed in 3-pack for a big city. Now we're getting 3-pack rankings. Boom. Thanks, Scott. Genia says, what's up, Genia? He says, footprint question. I have a huge lead gen site that covers the entire state. Each landing page is a location. Looking to create more GMB assets. Each location is under a different profile. Would it be a bad idea to use contractor.com/location for each GMB location for the location website? Can I use subdomains? I would use subdomains, Genia. That's what I would do. I would absolutely use subdomains. Yeah, I mean, remember, you are leaving a footprint if you're going to use a domain. That's something that, well, yeah, you got to just be careful because remember, you're leaving a footprint with the domain, but I think it's okay to do that if you're using the subdomain because a subdomain is treated as a separate website from Google than the root, right? Or any other subdomain. Does that make sense? So if you're doing inner location, like an inner page is the location or is the website URL, then if the domain were to catch a penalty, right, then it could affect every single one of the assets. But if you're using subdomains instead, if the subdomain, any one subdomain was to catch a penalty, it would only affect that subdomain. It wouldn't affect all the others. So I would do a subdomain. Dan says, I'm using different profiles for Firefox browser sessions without Ghost or Browsio. This seems to be doing the trick. Any reason one would need to pay for Ghost, etc. when this is free? No, Dan, if you've got a free, again, I'm using Browsio because I bought a lifetime account when it first launched. I love it. It does exactly what I need it to do, and that's all it does. Ghost Browser is an alternative. If you know how to do that with Firefox and profiles and all that shit, do that. Okay, it's just ease of use. Browsio is easy for me to use. I only use it for that one simple thing, and that's just to log in the profiles. That's it. I don't use this for anything else other than just to keep profiles separate and to keep browsing history for each profile. Does that make sense? So if you can do that with Firefox, feel free to do that. Ken says, I'm working with one industry like your tree removal. Can I reuse the same GMB Q&A post images and answers on multiple GMB profile properties, or does that create a footprint? No, I think it's fine because remember, for each GMB post, you're going to have a different call to action, right? Your NAP or your call to action is going to be pointing to something different. Plus, if you're using templatized GMB templates, or post templates like I do, right, then you're going to have tokens that are going to be swapped out. So the tokens will be swapped out with different keywords each time they get used, right? You'll have a set of keywords that you'll continue cycling through, I'm sure. But so every post will be slightly unique. Can you use the same images? Sure. But what my VAs do, guys, is my VAs about once a week, my blogging VAs or my GMB posting VAs, they will go in about once a week and grab another 5 or 6 or whatever images. Just they're constantly adding to the project's photos folder so that they're constantly adding new images so that as time goes on, that pool of images gets larger and larger. Okay. So yeah, you can do that. There's no doubt. And just remember, you're going to be geotagging those images with new metadata for each different location, right? So again, those images, although it's the same image, and we're trying to use unique images. If you followed Marco's webinar and some of the other stuff, RYS Academy, Local GMB Pro, we've talked about how to get unlimited local images that are highly relevant to the businesses, which is incredibly powerful. I also talk about in Local Lease Pro how to use YouTube, how to go take screenshots from YouTube videos of relevant images. And so those images are unique. And so that's what we're using mainly is the YouTube, because that's what my VAs are doing. My VAs are mainly grabbing screenshots from YouTube videos of relevant images and then geotagging them. And every week they just add a handful to that Photos master folder so that it continues to grow larger and larger. Okay. Vince, what are the industry to avoid? Do these sync up with business types for which you do not provide GMB assets? Thanks. I'm not sure what you mean, Vince. If you go to our GMB verification webpage, which is in the comments here somewhere, you'll see that some of the industries that are more difficult to verify, that's why it costs more. And then there are some forbidden industries too.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what he's asking. If just maybe in general, sounds like he's asking, is there anything else you avoid, besides that?
Yep. Rob says to Jason that you can use Twilio numbers inside the GMB. Okay, there you go. Pixie Per says, I want to ask about ROI here. Please, what is the average cost per month in Local Lease Pro with all the things you mentioned, Browsio, PR, and all the others? Thanks a lot. I honestly, I don't know, Pixie, with like all retail. Honestly, I don't know. You can get like the auto poster. You can start off at the low end, $37 per month. Okay. The press releases, if you have a subscription, then it's whatever your subscription level is. If you're buying them from us, it's $99 per press release. So if you only need one press release to get ranked, which in a lot of cases that's going to happen, then that's $99. Browsio, I think it's on a monthly now, but there are other options like Ghost Browser. I think that I don't know if that's monthly or not, and I don't know because I have a lifetime account. I honestly, you're just going to have to go out and do the research on your own based upon the tools that I mentioned and determine tally it all up and take a look. It's very inexpensive though, I can tell you that. Like I'm paying VAs full time to build these out and manage these all for me, guys, and it's still worth it, right? Because think about it, guys. If you rent out one of these assets on the low end for $250 a month or even less, right? Like I talked about, you can do volume deals where you say, okay, look, I usually rent each asset out or each location out for $250, but I got 10 in this service area or in this metro area. Why don't I? And I'll tell you what, Mr. Contractor or Ms. Contractor, whatever. How about I lease you all 10 of these locations for $1,500 a month? It's $150 a month. Who cares? You got 15 locations providing you or whatever, 10 locations for $1,500 a month. And you've got the auto poster. Remember, like I said, even if you were just using the auto poster, which is more expensive than the briefcase, which isn't available yet, but at the enterprise level, which is $200 a month, you can service 16 locations with 31 posts per month. And even if you were renting them out in package deals like that at $150 a month at 16 locations, do the math. Right? So think about that, guys. You're talking at least $1,000 a month, well over $1,500, $2,000 a month, or well over $2,000 a month, excuse me, and you're paying for a $200 auto poster. And remember, when the briefcase becomes available for you guys, it's going to be much less expensive. Okay? So you're just going to have to total that up. I'm sorry. Call Rail, Paul, I agree. Paul Rail is awesome. Christos says, in an already verified location, how can we handle not placing the pre-existing postal address while we need a postal address to create citations? Well, don't create citations, Christos. Don't create citations. Why? I talk about that in the Local Lease Pro training. If you're going to add citations, do it only after you have a service provider, and after you've established a good relationship with them, and you decide that you're going to rebrand, if you're going to rebrand for them, and then you build citations. Guys, here's the thing. You don't need citations to get ranked and to get results. Okay? Forget what you think you know about Google Maps, because now with this hyperlocal stuff, you don't need citations. Yes, it will help. And if you're in an uber competitive area, you might need citations to get results. But what I'm saying is the training is all about finding locations that you can get results without citations. Then once you have a service provider, you've established a good relationship. And if you decide to rebrand, then you can build citations. Okay, but just be aware that if you lose that service provider or you fire them for whatever reason, that you're going to end up having to do a citation cleanup job to correct all of those citations when you find a new service provider. Does that make sense? If you're going to rebrand again. Okay, so that's why I say don't use citations unless you need to, and I would only recommend doing it after you have a service provider. If you appeal the suspension, in my experience, Google gives them back. It will take a week. Paul, that's cool, Paul. I'll have to check into that then maybe. Dan says, I want for nothing else, Bradley. Laughing my ass off. Yeah, I know, Dan. I forgot how cheap I got on the Local Lease Pro, to be honest. Yeah, no problem, Dan. I was just giving you shit, buddy. I know. Carl says, great answer. Thanks for the help. You're welcome, Carl. Christo says, do you prefer to target with radius mode, or is it good to target counties, etc.? You can't target radius anymore, Christos. It's not even an option in GMB. You have to do it by location name now. Okay, you can target by zip code, by city name, by county name, by state, by country. Okay, you can target by any one of those, but you can't target by radius anymore. Does that make sense? You can't set your service area radius in Google My Business anymore. You have to set by location names. All right. All right, we're way over. I'm not even going to wait for any more questions to come in. Everybody, go buy it if you haven't already. This is a fantastic opportunity, as you have seen. I'm going to wrap it up. We'll see everybody on Hump Day Hangouts on Wednesday. Thanks, guys. Oh,
bye, everyone.
That's right. Thank you, Adam. I appreciate that. All of you that were waiting for me to announce the unannounced bonus, stand by. I'm going to end this webinar, the broadcast. Well, then nobody's going to see it.
We could just park it on the page, I think, and then delete. You can delete it in like tomorrow morning or tonight. We can go in and delete it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So that's what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to wrap it up because if I end the broadcast, nobody will see this. And then I'm just going to post in text form on the event page what the bonus is. If you have to purchase today, as of midnight tonight, that bonus is going away. All right. So if you have any questions, Hump Day Hangouts is right around the corner. We'll see you on Wednesday. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.